All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another severe weather live stream. We're back with a pretty widespread severe weather outbreak. There we go. Just adjusting the lighting and checking audio here as we get started with the stream. All right, audio sounds good, so we're good to go. Well, possible tropical cyclone number one, still spinning down here in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. You can see nothing severe down here today, except chance of flooding is definitely ramping up here in South Texas along the Texas Gulf Coast. You can see here we have tropical storm warnings are out here in preparation for the system to become a tropical storm. So you'll see those on the map here. There's also some storm surge warnings and all that on the Texas Gulf Coast. Today we're mostly focused here in the Midwest and the Plains. Have a tornado watch here for most of eastern Minnesota, and then also a couple severe thunderstorm watches that cover areas around Omaha, western Iowa, eastern Nebraska, and then much of central Kansas. Also watching a few isolated strong storms here again in the Ohio Valley and the eastern Great Lakes. And there's been a couple severe warnings there through the afternoon, so we'll continue to probably pop over there as a warning or two is issued. There were a couple tornado warnings in northern Minnesota earlier today. The most tornadic areas of the storms here have now pushed into Ontario. You can see the Environment Canada has issued a couple tornado warnings there in the areas west of Thunder Bay. So I think what I'm going to do here first is we'll detail the tornado warning. We also have a tornado warning here that was issued just a few minutes ago. Before that, it was a severe thunderstorm warning that I was pretty suspicious of, and sure enough, it got tornado warned. So we will we'll detail that, and then we'll take a tour from the top of the line down to the bottom. So let's dive in and get to our tornado warning here. Also have some new severe thunderstorm warnings going off here. So let's get this cleared out. Stream has started, and we'll go from there. Just want to make sure we get this posted out to as many people as we can here. Get it on the socials. Okay, so here is our current tornado warning here. It's along Kansas 156. This is just north of Covesta, Kansas. Tornado warning and also ping pong ball sized hail is possible with this storm. A lot of lightning here showing up. Back it up, and this is what it looked like just a couple minutes ago. A little bit more structured here when it was around Ravenna, Kansas. And backing it up just a little bit further here, this is what it looked like on the reflectivity here. This is when I kind of saw it and got a little suspicious of this storm. Looks like it's undergone a couple cell mergers. So that is likely what's kind of caused that area of circulation to collapse a bit. We'll watch and see if it can restructure. Cell mergers, I've talked about this in other streams, but cell mergers can either enhance that spin of the circulation of the mesocyclone, or they can sometimes just choke it off and just downright collapse it. Looks like it may be going under undergoing a cycle here at the little while. Again, this is right now east of Ravenna, Kansas, and north of Calvesta. Definitely, this is a dangerous storm. Right now, a little outflow dominant. You can see it's starting to surge out a little bit. Looks like it was starting to wrap up pretty tight, and then that storm came in from the south and just kind of cut off that circulation there. So let's see if this can reorganize. Right now, it's at least still a little bit of circulation in here, but it's also at least posing a damaging wind threat. You can see that bowing out here, those brighter returns, showing that surging wind. In addition to the tornado, lime-sized hail is possible, so this is a considerable threat, severe thunderstorm. And we can see that hail core sitting above the circulation there in those purples and darker red colors. Right now, that is the only tornado warning in the U.S. So actually, I will use these, and we'll jump up to the top of this line. It extends all the way into Canada, around Armstrong, Ontario, and south of there. And then right now it's west of Red Rock, also west of the Thunder Bay, Ontario metro here, west of Sunshine, Ontario. But this area was in the northern part of Minnesota earlier, and that's where there were a couple tornado warnings in Minnesota today. Still a pretty good area of circulation here. This kink in the line, we can see that there. There's a little bit embedded supercell likely there. That is a tornado threat there along Ontario Route 11, and eventually could work its way up to Ontario Route 17. Luckily, west of Thunder Bay and Sunshine, there's not as much population up in here. But that is a dangerous cell there on the Ontario side of the border. Right now, non-severe thunderstorms extend down towards areas here north of Duluth. Just kind of scoping this line here as we go. Certainly it's possible, especially this area here that's surging out towards Grand Marias, and eventually here along the Lake Superior coastline here in a few minutes. Toft, Lewiston, here in northeast Minnesota. There is a possibility of some surging winds here with a bit of a damaging wind threat. So especially that part of the line, worth watching here as that pushes eventually offshore into Lake Superior. Otherwise, we've had some big hailstorms today in northern Minnesota, a couple 1-inch hail reports. And then just in time, as we're going through the line here, we can take a look at this storm. Tornado possible, just getting severe warned here. This is near Pine River, Nisswa, and Little Pine here in central Minnesota. Definitely some upscaling thunderstorms here. And there's a bit of rotation in here. We can see that a little bit right in here on this scan. So that is near Pequot Lakes, Minnesota. Again, we've dealt with Minnesota earlier this week, or last week, I guess. Within the last week here, we've dealt with Minnesota again. One of the concerning things for me here is this is a very popular area for recreational activities up here in kind of north central Minnesota, a couple hours north of the Twin Cities. There's a lot of cabins, a lot of little lakes, and some people may be up here on a little bit of summer vacation and not aware that there's a severe thunderstorm that poses a risk for large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes. So if you're in this area here, Pine River, Emily, Pequot Lakes, and Nisswa, please, if you can, get to your lowest level into your room away from windows and let the storm pass. That line stretches down towards Alexandria in Minnesota, and then it breaks up a little bit. We have a strong storm here in the Minnesota and South Dakota state line near Milbank, South Dakota. That one is worth watching. Has a special weather statement right now. But a little bit of rotation and probably some large hail in this storm. If that continues to upscale, that would likely garner a warning. So line breaks up west of Minneapolis. We pick up some scattered showers and thunderstorms here in southwest Minnesota. And then we pick up non-severe storms again right now here in eastern Nebraska. Those are pretty strong storms approaching also into northwest Iowa. Again, the College World Series is going on in Omaha, so it is looking like there might be some delays there tonight. I don't know. I don't have the schedule on me right now, but certainly these storms are kind of upscaling. Let's take a look here. It is 5:08 on the Central Time. And yeah, we can see they haven't been moving that fast, but they are moving generally towards Omaha from the west-southwest. And right now they're pretty strong storms, sub-severe, but looking in here, there are some pockets of some stronger winds, especially that area around York, Nebraska. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some warnings filling in this part of the line. And up here, also north of Omaha, there's also some pretty gusty winds in these storms. So right now they're below severe limits, but wouldn't be surprised if we get a warning out of those either. And then we pick up some large hailstorms here, considerable threat, golf ball size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's south of Norton, Kansas, near Edmond and Logan, Kansas. This storm is moving actually a little bit north, so a different direction than our line of storms. Yeah, this is just going kind of north, maybe slightly northeast of true north, but if you're up here between Phillipsburg and east of Norton, Kansas, this is a pretty dangerous storm here, and you can see that hail core. That'll be moving across US 36 in a few minutes. Yeah, interesting storm here with its motion kind of opposite of what a lot of the other storms are doing, and it's moving at a pretty good clip. Northeast at 45. Even Alma on the Nebraska side of the border should keep an eye on this storm. If it holds together, Alma in about 41 minutes. Prairie View 13, Stuttgart, Kansas 15, Long Island, Kansas 23, Woodruff 30, and then Alma 41. So keep an eye on that storm. Definitely large hail. We'll probably see some. Oh, there is a report right here where all these highways come together. Hard to see that one, but right here where Route 24 and Route 283 come together, it looks like there's already a 1-inch hail report. Would not be surprised if we get more hail reports coming out of that storm for sure. We pick up a storm here around Hays, Kansas. This is where the line has been extending down here this afternoon and filling in. Hays, Kansas, just to the west of Hays there around Ellis, along Highway 70 here. A couple 1.5 to almost 2-inch hail reports. And you can see that hail core sitting just to the southwest of Hays, Kansas. So definitely stay indoors there. Quarter-size hail at least possible there. That'll be moving over towards Victoria. And this is going to be a problem because it's also riding right along I-70 there. So Gorham, Russell, Wilson, you guys all need to get a few minutes to maybe put those cars in the garage, the carport, get everything tucked away before that severe thunderstorm with a history of large hail comes at you. The next storm down, this is that area around Calvesta. No longer tornado warned right now, but wouldn't be surprised if it tries to get its act together again. We'll have to see. For right now, it's a damaging wind threat. You can definitely see those damaging winds in here, northeast of Calvesta and north of Kansas 156. Again, there's a little broad rotation still in here, so we do have to watch that. But yeah, primarily a big damaging wind threat. This is going to continue also with that damaging wind threat towards Jetmore, Kansas, along, we called them earlier, but 283. Yeah, they were part of our other storm way up near Edmond. So 283, rough ride there in Kansas. Yeah, 283 towards Jetmore. If you live out this way, again, similar to that other storm around Hays, you got a few minutes to put that car in the garage, get everything tucked away before a really damaging wind and strong hail-producing thunderstorm come at you there. Would not be surprised again if this starts to try and tighten back up and rotate again. We pick up more storms here with a tornado possible tag. This one looked suspicious earlier. Not as suspicious now, but it's kind of merged with a couple cells here at the moment. So we'll actually watch kind of the newest cell down the line to watch that area for rotation north of Sublette, Kansas. I have to always watch on long line segments, those tail end Charlies. But either way, these storms do have some larger hail cores, so we can see that in there. And then they're also going to warn this entire line around Cimarron, Kansas, approaching Dodge City, Montezuma, Cimarron, Ingalls, and up towards Jetmore. This is a considerable threat for 70-mile-an-hour winds. So we see that approaching here. Yeah, there's definitely 70-mile-an-hour winds in here, even up just to the north of that warning. That is that storm that we talked about just a few minutes ago, with likely some strong winds. Wouldn't rule out 60 to 70-mile-an-hour winds in that one. Not rotating much, but that storm looks a little suspicious. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. That is near McCracken, Brazine, Alexander, and Brownell. Even if without rotation, there's likely a little bit of hail in here too, so we have to watch those storms certainly closely here in Kansas. New tornado warning here out of Minnesota. This is a radar indicated tornado here, south central St. Louis County in northeastern Minnesota. It's a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located 7 miles east of Tavola, or 19 miles southeast of Hibbing, moving east at 30. Radar indicated rotation. So we'll check this out. Here's Tavola here. 7 miles east of Tavola. All right, let's check this here. Yeah, this is it right in here. A little pocket of rotation in here, and it's tightened up a little bit right in this area here. Interesting little cell. It's not a very big cell. It doesn't present super well on the radar, but we still have to watch it here. Right in there. Our radar is pretty close to this too, so it's a little bit lower of its circulation, but north of Kelsey and northwest of Cotton, this is our area of rotation. It's kind of sliding actually a little more northeast in this warning box. The whole line itself is kind of moving east, but that area of rotation is a little bit more northeastern. And it's probably a local area here, just looking at this now, backing it up. I think it's rather than being a supercellular structure, this looks to be a bit of a cell merger here. We had some cells kind of drifting east, and then we had a few kind of drifting northeast, and that looks like that's what's enhanced a little bit there. So we were talking about cell mergers a little bit ago. And there's an example of some enhanced local vorticity there between Tavola and Cotton in northeastern Minnesota. So I think we've covered most of this line. They're getting a replacement warning here. They're going to extend, I think, a considerable threat. Yeah, that is a good call. Basically, this whole line now, from areas around Montezuma to areas just south of Brazine, is warned for a considerable threat, 70-mile-an-hour wind. The newest warning takes that area that was just north of the original warning. That storm that was rotating a few minutes ago, now kind of surging out with some heavy wind, and it covers that area. So Jetmore, we talked about you guys a few minutes ago. Jetmore, Kansas, time to get down to a sturdy structure, away from windows, and definitely let these storms pass. It's important out if you're out in front of this. Hanston, let's see, zoom in here a little further. Dungan's Crossing, Riverside, Jetmore. You got maybe a couple minutes here before this really slams you. And even areas here west of Dodge City. If you're not already, please be in a sturdy structure. 70-mile-an-hour winds, hurricane force winds is a potential here, and certainly you don't want to deal with that in a camping trailer, a mobile home. If you're out tent camping, that could be an issue too. I know a lot of people are doing recreational activities here in the summertime. So please find sturdy structure if you're out ahead of this line around Dodge City and points north and east of Dodge City, Jetmore, Hanston, even Burdett here in west central Kansas. Yeah, that's a dangerous line of storms. I think we also had another severe thunderstorm warning go off while we were dissecting that line a little bit. And again, I mentioned that there were possibility of some isolated strong storms here around the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. There's one here south of Newcastle, Pennsylvania, and just east of New Beaver, Pennsylvania. This is in a pretty populated area here, northwest of Pittsburgh. So Zealand and Opal, Portersville, New Beaver, Elport, Big Beaver, kind of a bunch of suburbs here of Pittsburgh. And pretty good size hail core in that. You can see the purples there. This also looks to be interacting with some outflow boundaries. You can see there's outflow boundaries that are actually colliding with each other. There's some that are surging north and some that are surging south. So that's an interesting environment here that puts this cell in. You can see some of those here. These outflow boundaries here are coming south, and then there's an outflow boundary that just kind of skirts along this cell here, and this is all moving north. So we may get some other storms. Wouldn't be surprised if we get some other storms that pop up in this area with some outflow boundaries converging here on each other. Sometimes this drawing tool has a bit of a mind of its own, but yeah, we have outflow boundaries surging up this way and also surging south here across Slippery Rock, Grove City, and then into Ohio here, Salem and Boardman. Yeah, would not be surprised if we get some other convection here just with the convergence of these outflow boundaries. But this cell itself, it's moving kind of northwest actually. It may actually come up here towards Newcastle from the south. So if you're in Newcastle, keep an eye on that storm. It's being warned for 3/4 inch hail, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit larger hail in here, especially here just north of Elwood City in Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania. That is a pretty strong hail core here. Also approaching Energy, Pennsylvania, West Pittsburgh. So West Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is pretty much north of actual Pittsburgh. Looks like some severe storms, but some pretty strong storms here around Meadville, Pennsylvania too. We'll keep an eye on those. We've had a couple hail reports and then also some tree damage reports here in eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania today. Similar to yesterday, except it looks like the coverage today isn't quite as high as it was yesterday. Yesterday there was, at one point, I think like 10 or 11 severe thunderstorm warnings in this area, most of them in Ohio and then a couple just into Pennsylvania. So yesterday I think there was more coverage. There were some severe storms near Cleveland earlier today. It looks like that one that we just dissected there and went over around Newcastle and down towards Elport. That looks to be the strongest storm in this area here at the moment today. We also do have a severe thunderstorm warning here in western West Virginia. This is around Chapmanville and Big Creek for 3/4 inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour wind. That is over, let's see, it's over Gill, Leet, Attenville, Farrellsburg, and approaching Ranger here in southwestern West Virginia. Watch out for that storm if you're in the Lexington area, Lexington, Kentucky. You got a storm coming up from your southeast, moving northwest. And that looks pretty much like it, besides the line of storms. We will take a look here. I want to take a look at a lot of rain offshore, and that'll be pushing onshore here as the night continues here from Galveston, Houston, down towards Corpus Christi, and then Brownsville. Just looking here. Yeah, some more storms here around Port Isabel, Texas, and the Mexican border. Just kind of keeping an eye on things down there on the Texas Gulf Coast. Let's go back. I think we just have the one tornado warning right now. Yeah, just the one tornado warning. And let's go back and take a look at this storm. This was that interesting storm. I think there was a little bit of convergence in here too, with some storms colliding together. Still kind of a little broad area rotation. It's not much. There it is right in here, north of Kelsey. And yeah, that's kind of broadened out quite a bit. So probably not an imminent tornado threat, but still, let's take those tornado precautions. Kelsey over to Cotton. And if you're along US 53 north of Cotton, and also in some of these roads here to the north and east of Cotton, it looks like Minnesota 52, Minnesota 4. These could be county roads too. So if you're up here towards Markham, Minnesota, Whiteface Reservoir, you guys need to be in your tornado safe space. Also south of Mackinac, Minnesota. This is pretty well south of Evelyn and Virginia, Minnesota. That's where more of the population in this area of Minnesota is. So this is south of there. But there is a little rotation still in here, so it's an interesting little storm. And yeah, let's just keep in your safe space here a little longer. I'll check this one here. This is around Breezy Point, area that had a tornado last week. Still seeing some gusty winds in this storm. Quarter-size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds possible there. Right now, Twin Cities, you're okay. You do have this tornado watch here until, I believe this goes till 8 p.m. Central. Yeah, 8 p.m. Central Time. It was put out at 1:25 here this afternoon. And actually, while we have just a couple minutes, let me take a look at everything. So some details here. This tornado watch, as I mentioned earlier, goes out till 8 p.m. Central Time. A few tornadoes are possible. Scattered hail up to 2 inches possible. And wind gust scattered up to 70 likely. So damaging winds, some large hail, and a few tornadoes are possible. And that it's been trimmed a little bit. It did include some areas back here towards Detroit Lakes. And areas east of Fargo. So these counties here have been trimmed off. But otherwise, most of this tornado watch still exists. And let's see. Yeah, areas around Fergus Falls and Bemidji have been trimmed off. South of Bemidji. But otherwise, it includes Duluth, Brainerd, St. Cloud, Wilmar, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Mankato, Albert Lee, and areas here around Worthington, Fairmont, Blue Earth in southern Minnesota. Further down, again, we have a severe thunderstorm watch that covers much of northwest Iowa and southeast Nebraska. That includes areas here around Sioux City, Sioux Center, Mason City, Fort Dodge, Carroll, Atlantic, Iowa, and then Council Bluffs in the Omaha metro. In Nebraska, that includes Norfolk, Columbus, Lincoln, Omaha, down towards Beatrice, and then back towards Kearney and Grand Island. Also down towards Nebraska City, and right in the area here where Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri all meet up. This severe thunderstorm watch also goes out till 8 p.m. So like the tornado watch to the north, it goes till 8 p.m. A couple of tornadoes are possible in this watch. Scattered hail up to 2 inches and scattered wind gusts up to 70. So very similar criteria to the tornado watch, just likely a slightly reduced tornadic environment, but the storms could still be pretty feisty in this area. And then the later watch is the one here in Kansas. Oh, and I should have said in that first watch, goes down to basically, that first severe thunderstorm watch I just covered goes basically down to I-70. So areas around Hayes and Russell and Salina, Kansas, and points north here. Concordia, Kansas, Smith Center, Stockton, Kansas, Phillipsburg, That area is all in that Nebraska and Iowa tornado watch. 8 p.m. Here this evening. The southern watch, that's basically this area here south of I-70, so right along this border here. This includes a lot of the cities you see here. Hayes, Salina, Great Bend, McPherson, Hutchinson, Pratt, Liberal, Ulysses, Dodge City, and Garden City. This watch goes out until 10 p.m. Central Time. A couple of tornadoes possible. Scattered hail up to tennis ball size, so we've upped our hail potential down in this part of the U.S. here. And scattered wind gusts up to 80 are likely. So this is a bit higher priority of a severe weather watch with just the wording of things. Although there's severe weather obviously ongoing and expected along this whole line here, but pretty significant severe weather watch. We've had a couple of new severe thunderstorm warnings come out, so I'm going to detail those here. They're in Nebraska, west of Lincoln, towards Seward, Ulysses, Brainerd, Rising City, and Valparaiso. This is a severe thunderstorm, 60-mile-an-hour winds and 3/4-inch hail. You can see that moving through. Probably the strongest for hail is this area here around Ulysses. That's going to be kind of lifting its way up through this warning here. So Malcolm, Valparaiso, and areas here around Lincoln and points north and west of Lincoln. Got some severe storms coming your way. Lincoln, if those storms miss you to the north, keep an eye on these storms here to your southwest around the US 81 corridor. This is a pretty good line of storms. Likely some larger hail in here around Geneva. It's being warned for just under an inch hail and also 60-mile-an-hour winds. Geneva, Exeter, and around Hinckley and Bruning. That's in south-central Nebraska with that, again, just under an inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. Wouldn't be totally shocked if we get an inch or more hail size out of this. This core looks pretty impressive here, coming towards Geneva. We're going to get an extension here on that storm over towards Newcastle. It's actually getting an upgrade here for $half size hail. I mentioned the hail core looked pretty impressive on this storm. It's a considerable threat now. Considerable threat for 70-mile-an-hour winds and $half sized hail. This is pretty much over Newcastle, Pennsylvania right now. South Newcastle, Joyce, and down towards Energy. And then it's going to be continuing north. Mayville, Harlansburg, Plain Grove, Volant, Grove City, Mercer, Hermitage, and Sharpsville. Also, I'd include Jackson Center. You're just on the line of this warning. So areas here around Mercer over to Hermitage, Pennsylvania. Keep an eye on this storm. It's going to be coming up from your south. A little bit different direction than a lot of storms will travel in a lot of the U.S. So yeah, it's definitely continued to upscale here, and it's crossed this outflow boundary. I mentioned earlier we'd also probably see some more storms developing. It looks like we are seeing some more storms where these outflow boundaries have collided. So wouldn't be surprised if we get a few other strong storms here in this area around Plain Grove and back towards New Beaver and Big Beaver. That's a quickly growing thunderstorm here. West Mayfield here in western Pennsylvania. So keep an eye on those. I think those are the only other severe thunderstorms we had newly announced here. All right, we've had that tornado warning expire or drop over here towards, where was it? It was over here south of Evelynth. Looks like around the Cotton, Minnesota area, Tovola. That's all been dropped. So you guys still keep an eye on these storms. Yeah, there's not really much rotation in there anymore. Maybe a little bit. But most of these storms here aren't too severe. The strongest part is pushing off into Lake Superior here. Grand Marias over towards Lutzen, Toft, Finland, and Silver Bay. Special marine warning goes out for that area there. Hopefully people are off the water. And actually, our tornado warning is now expired, so that's good. Keep an eye on these storms here if you're in the Duluth metro. Pretty strong storms here north of Duluth, so we'll keep an eye on you guys. And then the other severe warning looks like was also dropped, but still pretty strong storms down here towards Long Prairie, Little Sauk, Melrose, Grove Lake, Boonton, and New London. Keep an eye on those storms here north of Wilmer. Pretty strong storms here, especially if you're headed out north and west of the Twin Cities right now. Those may also get towards Little Falls and St. Cloud here in the next little while, so keep an eye on those storms. Also, we can check on our friends here towards Thunder Bay. Still pretty strong storms in Thunder Bay. They dropped the tornado warnings, but still some rotation showing up in that storm. So still wouldn't be shocked if we got a tornado out of those. Keep an eye on those storms here, again, west of Thunder Bay. Yeah, that's kind of the tail end of this. The strongest part of this line here in Minnesota, I think, extends from that area around Silver Bay, and now just starting to push offshore, and then it extends all the way up into northwest Ontario there, so pretty strong little area there. Back here, we'll detail these. This storm is looking a little stronger here at the moment. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a warning out of here, especially there's some surging wind. This is near Whitting in northwest Iowa. It's going to be coming up towards Mapleton. A little bit of rotation in this storm too, but it's kind of broad and weak at the moment. But for the most part, I think it's a surging wind threat. There's also probably a little hail in this part of the storm. Those purple and darker red colors. New tornado warning coming out here. Okay, we're going to get a new tornado warning for an observed tornado in that area around Cotton. Just a minute ago here, confirmed tornado located over Cotton or 28 miles south of Hibbing, southeast of Hibbing, moving east at 30, damaging tornado. Law enforcement confirmed tornado. Okay. There is still some rotation in here. I mentioned that just a minute ago. It's kind of broad rotation, but I guess we do have a tornado still on the ground. Well, that area of rotation I think I was talking about actually kind of it's like was replaced here. You can kind of see it tightening up just as it approaches Cotton. And maybe right in here. This is I don't even know if it's there anymore, but right there, this scan right here shows a decently tight couplet. Not going to see probably much here. Ah, there it is. Maybe right there. No, that's probably clear air. Yeah, it's hard to see on the CC. It's not really picking up. There is a lot of clear air in here too. But the area of rotation is right in this area here, just now east of Cotton. Riding along Minnesota 52, so if you're over here towards Whiteface, please be back in your tornado safety spot. Good news is I think this warning didn't take too long to come out after the last one was canceled. So most of these places hopefully can stay in your safe space here. But Cotton over towards Whiteface, Shaw. If you're up here along Route 4 towards Markham, Whiteface Reservoir, I think I called you guys out earlier. Yeah, stay in your safe space here. There's that area of rotation. Doesn't look particularly interesting on the radar, on velocity or reflectivity. But again, this was a law enforcement confirmed tornado over Cotton, and it's moving east here, basically along 52. Let me see if I can get some information on this storm. Once again, we're looking at a confirmed tornado. Not seeing anything visually that of anyone that we can add here, but seeing if someone snagged a picture of it. But there's some flooding ongoing here in this area, so be cautious of that too. It looks like a lot of the streams and creeks are up, so yeah, definitely turn around, don't drown. There are flood warnings up for this area too. Yeah, around Hibbing, over towards Grand Rapids, Virginia, Minnesota, Evelyn, Babbitt, Linden Grove, Willow Valley Township. These are observed considerable threat. Flooding Ely, Minnesota. I saw a flooding picture out of there earlier. So all behind this line of storms, behind the leading edge. This area's been getting a lot of rain in the past few days, but this area here has storms kind of training over itself. They're moving a little more east across each other and not making a ton of forward progress. So still a big flood threat here in northern Minnesota tonight, even all the way up towards International Falls and into Canada. Go back here, taking a look at our observed tornado here around Cotton. Still seeing a pretty tight areas of circulation there. Now on the last scan, it's kind of broadened a bit. And not seeing any CC on this. Yeah. If I step it back a little bit, right around the time that warning was issued, there is a bit of a tighter area there. And now that's broadened out, but still stay in your safe space here. Cotton over to Whiteface. And then it points here north and east of Whiteface towards Markham, Whiteface Reservoir, and areas down here near Shaw. This is all pretty well west of Two Harbors and Silver Creek here at the moment. Also taking a look at our storms here around Lincoln. Already have a couple storm reports here. Semi flipped over on US 80 at 5:06. So about, let's see, what time is it now? It's 5:42. So within the last hour here, we've had a semi flipped over. Let's move it back to So right in this general time, right around here, probably a little right on the leading edge of that storm. If that's the right marker here, it'd be right on the leading edge of this. And probably the rain tucked back just a little bit, and then there's probably a little bit of an outflow boundary just right out ahead of this that just slammed them with some pretty heavy winds they weren't expecting. So take this pretty seriously if you're along I-80 here, especially west of Lincoln right now. Again, Lincoln, you're not in a severe thunderstorm warning yet, but just to the west of you, Milford, Malcolm, Valparaiso, Seward, down towards Crete, Friend, and Dorchester. You guys have pretty strong storms coming at you, and this up towards Prague and east central Nebraska, and then down towards Dakin, Western, and DeWitt. Storms around Bruning right now. Taking a look here, still have that big hailstorm. It's come down a little bit here, but it's right near Long Island, Kansas. It's about to cross into Nebraska, so we'll see if we get a warning in this area. But Orleans, Alma, areas around Harlan County Lake, please get ready to get into your a sturdy shelter here. Republican City, Stamford, you guys have this storm coming up from the south, and we can see here it has produced kind of what I was expecting, and it has produced a pretty good consistent amount of 1 to over 1 inch hail from dime to $half size on that report. These storms were severe warned. They dropped a little bit in intensity, but wouldn't be surprised if we get some larger hail out of those storms. They're also riding right along the interstate, so watch out here towards Russell, Kansas, along I-70, and then still pretty strong storm here north of Russell towards Osborne, Kansas. Down towards Dodge City, we pick up our considerable threat, severe thunderstorms. Areas around Jetmore, we talked about Jetmore earlier. Hanston, if you're up here along 283 north of Dodge City, please be in a sturdy structure there. You can see that surge of wind. There's definitely an outflow boundary on this part of the storm. Have to watch, there's a couple little eddies in here too. You can kind of see them on the reflectivity, and you can also see them on the velocity scans. So a little bit of spin in those storm still. This was a storm that was tornado warned earlier, and then pretty strong surging winds coming from Cimarron up towards Jetmore. This will be eventually over towards Dodge City and probably Spearville, Kansas in a little while. Strong storms also approaching Montezuma, and then down here further south, 1 inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds towards Copeland, Sublette, Santana, and over towards Kismet and Plains. Pretty solid line of storms here, now building all the way back down to the Kansas border with Oklahoma, around Liberal, Kansas, and points just to the west and north of Liberal, Kansas. We'll see if we can get... There is a chance of some development down into the Texas Panhandle, so even down that far we may get some severe thunderstorm development. I think it was those storms that I mentioned earlier approaching Little Falls. They're going to get rewarned. 1 inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour wind, and also a tornado possible tag. We can see there's an area of circulation in here that'll be sliding up towards Little Falls. Also, let's see, Randell, Flensburg, Swanville, Bertram, Uppsala, Elmdale, and areas towards Belle Prairie. Keep an eye on those storms coming up from the southwest. Let's take a look here again at our observed tornado warning. This has been a weird little warning area the last little bit. Okay, it's been updated a little bit. Yeah, just a few minutes ago it was updated. Confirmed tornado located near Cotton or 20 miles north of Duluth, moving east at 25. Law enforcement confirmed damaging tornado. So they did update it, and I guess that means it's still on the ground. Not seeing a CC drop with that. Interesting. Yeah, not seeing a CC drop, but if you're east of Cotton here towards Whiteface, Shaw, and then now south of Markham, the warning has been trimmed a little bit too. So areas east of Cotton and southwest of Rollins. Let me get a mileage on this here for you, because this area doesn't have a ton of communities, but there are a lot of people with like hunting cabins and lakeside cabins, and also a lot of people just out here, probably tent camping. About 7 miles southwest of Rollins. That's where that tornado warning goes. Yeah, weird little cell. There's been a couple, we saw it was warned back here towards Kelsey, and there's been a couple little spins in it. And then just right near and over Cotton is when we saw this area spin up. Oh, somewhat weak, but a tight area. And that has pushed east now. And is over here in this area here near Long Lake. So if you're in that area there, Long Lake, Minnesota, please be in your safe space there. Okay, they're going to extend out the warning here for Dodge City. I mentioned you guys a few minutes ago, Spearville, also Offerly, Ford, Dodge City, and then areas here just to the west of US 56. So if you live west and north of Kinsley, Garfield, Larned, and Pawnee Rock, towards Burdett and Rosal, you guys are now in this warning here. Under 1-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds, so they've dropped the considerable. They have added a tornado possible. I think it's for what we were mentioning earlier, is there's some spin up in here. Also probably one, let's see, yeah, there's a little spin right here near Cimarron. So we'll have to watch that area too. But that whole line has a little bit of spin in it. And then that'll be approaching Dodge City here in a little bit, and all those communities. Let me get a idea here for you. Moving east at 15. It's not moving that fast. So if you are out here towards Spearville, and now it's your guys' turn. You got a minute or two to get the car in the garage. You're going to get wind and stuff before that storm, though, because this does have an outflow boundary extending out from it. So don't wait too long, but go get those cars tucked in. And then back to western Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh has a baseball game today, but it looks like downtown Pittsburgh, you guys are clear here. All the severe weather is pushed north of Pittsburgh. Right now, a quarter-size hail, 60-mile-an-hour wind. Storm has come down a little bit. Trees and power lines down. Power is out, though, in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. So pretty good storm still. From Newcastle over towards Slippery Rock and Grove City. And this also includes Mercer, Jackson Center, West Middlesex, Sax, and Hermitage. And then also, these storms up here did go severe warning. So 60-mile-an-hour winds around Meadville, Titusville, zooming in a little further, Hydetown, Clements Corners, and Spartansburg. And then also quarter-size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds around Cherry Tree, Oil City, Rouseville, and Franklin in western Pennsylvania. That's a nasty little hail core here, too, around Marionville. It is not as many storm coverage here in the Great Lakes today, but it is a very hot day here in the Northeast and Great Lakes. 92 to 94 right here in Toledo here, still reporting 94, 93, 92. So just off the lake, even Port Clinton Ohio, right on Lake Erie, is reporting 91 degrees here at is it 6:52 Eastern time. So not a lot of early evening help here with the heat. Around Pittsburgh, probably have some rain-cooled air, but downtown Pittsburgh, 86 here in Moon Township. This is out at the airport. So that's 86 degrees out there by the airport. Let's see, 80 near McKeesport. Some of this is probably rain-cooled a little bit. But where there wasn't rain, this area here, Brownsdale, 85. And then if you go to the rain area here, 77 back behind these storms. And that extends all the way out into the areas here around DC, still in the upper 80s to low to mid 90s in certain spots. So just starting to get into the big heat dome that's going to control much of the weather here in the U.S. the next 5 to 7 days or so. Our newest severe thunderstorm warning is actually going to be down here in the areas we were just kind of talking about, but this is around Salem, West Virginia, West Union, areas just around the Clarksburg, West Virginia metro, 60-mile-an-hour winds and 3/4-inch hail. This includes US 50 between West Union, Salem, and Bristol, West Virginia. Also Canton and Ashley. Another storm that's moving a little strange direction compared to how normal weather patterns go for this area. But this is moving here from the southeast toward the northwest. So if you're in Ashley, Canton, you guys got to look the opposite direction than you a lot of times will look for storms. Let's again check our tornado warning. Still an observed tornado in St. Louis County, Minnesota. Hasn't been updated in a couple minutes, but about 10 minutes ago, 13 minutes ago, it was a confirmed tornado located near Cotton, or 29 miles north of Duluth, moving east at 25. These storms aren't moving that fast, so the area rotation is still in here. But it has broadened since we saw it. So here it is when it was warned, and here it is when it was warned, and interesting storm. Just want to do an audio check here real quick. Let's see. Check. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Okay, sounds good. Let me know in the chat if something glitched out on the audio, but I've heard it myself, so I think we're good. Anyway, yeah, little tight area rotation in here. That's kind of drifted east-southeast, and now it's over kind of an area we can't really see a lot of radar coverage, but it's in this area, kind of broadened out, but right in this area here. And the reason I guess we can't see much is because there's not much actual weather in this area. So that would explain that. Yeah, an interesting little storm. Still stay in your tornado safe space there if you're up here along Minnesota Route 4, Minnesota Route 49, around Whiteface, Shaw, and points to the east of you guys. Interesting storm. Duluth, nothing yet severe for you guys, but you are in the tornado watch here around Duluth, up towards Two Harbors. You got storms to your west. And then that kind of broken line of ragged storms extends all the way back towards Breezy Point, Baxter. And then we pick up a severe thunderstorm warning here around Little Falls and Bell Prairie. little bit of a rotation in this, so we do have to watch that. It has a tornado possible tag, but also quarter-size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. Wouldn't be surprised if we got a warning out of these storms too. They're kind of the same environment. A little bit of rotation in this storm too. A little broad rotation right in there. Nothing severe yet and nothing imminent, but just something to watch. But this is a pretty strong storm here near Melrose, Freeport, and approaching Paynesville, Minnesota. Storms are non-severe here in northwest Iowa here at the moment. Still a pretty strong storm. I think I mentioned it earlier when it was around Mapleton here. It is kind of moving up from the southwest. It's moving northeast. So Correctionville and Holstein, you guys got to watch out for that storm. Not really rotating, but there is some probably a little bit larger hail in here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's P to quarter-sized hail. And then now into Lincoln. We've had a semi flipped over on I-80. And now we have a 60-mile-an-hour wind report for Seward. Lawn furniture blown around. So this is all approaching here. Lincoln, Waverly, Ashland here in eastern Nebraska. Also Wahoo. You can see there's an outflow boundary also extending out from these storms. That outflow boundary is going to be closer than the storms. It's going to be coming here through Meade, Yucatan, and even up towards Washington and Bennington here in a little while. Far out ahead of the storms. And then further south here from Lincoln, Dorchester down to Crete, Wilbur, DeWitt, Western, and Dakin. You guys all have a severe thunderstorm warning for 60-mile-an-hour winds and some small hail. That storm that has now crossed the Nebraska border, the state line here, still being severe warned now for Alma, areas around Harlan County Lake. Hopefully everybody got off the lake okay. Orleans, and then north along 183 towards Huntley. Still has pretty good hail core in here, right over the lake and right over Alma, Nebraska. And it's moving basically northeast along 183. So it's already had a history of hail. Let's see. We have hail reports from that storm going back about 53 miles. So that's a pretty consistent hail-producing thunderstorm. And yeah, it's been moving pretty much kind of northeast. So northeast. So yeah, if you're out ahead of this, along 183 Huntley, and even Reagan, Wilcox, possibly up towards Holdridge, I'd just keep an eye on this storm. Storms have gone below severe limits around Hayes, but still some pretty strong storms in here. Some gusty winds and small hail. And then watching this tornado possible storm here around Jetmore, Hanston, Burdett, Roselle, Spearville, Offerly, Dodge City. You can see the outflow boundary out of the storm here surging ahead. And you can see that also on the velocity here. You can see those winds surging towards Dodge City at a pretty low level because we're very close to the Dodge City radar. So likely some damaging winds reaching the ground. Also probably some small hail in this part of the storm. Looks like some pretty good purple returns. Yeah, and you can see those on the CC as well. You can see some of the scattering of the little blues, greens, and yellows in here. That's indicating one of the hail cores in here. That all kind of co-locates with those purple colors, so that's probably some pretty good hail. This has all been extended out here. A severe thunderstorm, tornado possible, and quarter-size hail. That includes all those towns I think I mentioned earlier along US 54 from Mineola, Fowler, Meade, Plains, Kismet, and down towards Liberal, Kansas. Most of the storms look to be north of the Oklahoma border, but again, there is a possibility of some more storms developing down here. We're seeing a little blip right on the Oklahoma-Kansas line, so we'll have to watch for any more filling in. So keep an eye to the skies here if you're down here towards Stratford, Texas, Texhoma, Goodwell, Guyman, Hooker, Optima, and Tyrone here in Oklahoma along US 54. Right now that line is basically paralleling US 54 in Kansas. So Dodge City, Liberal, wouldn't be surprised if we get a little more development down here. Extension of the warning here around Lincoln. This is for the areas east of Crete towards Hickman and Bennett along US 77, Sprague, Hallam, Cortland, Firth, and Rokeby south of Lincoln here, just basically Lincoln's south side extension of that warning. Those are pretty strong cluster storms. It's a rough line of storms, but there's definitely some distinction here. The southern Kansas section, and then it's a bit broken, and then we get into the eastern Nebraska section. Those are the storms that are approaching Omaha. So Omaha, you guys are okay at the moment, but not that far west. We have some severe thunderstorms, so keep an eye on those. Tornado warning has been allowed to drop, so not shocked that it's been dropped because it's not a super impressive storm, but there is still a little rotation in here. We'll have to see if anyone reports another tornado in here, but there must have been just some very low level spin because we didn't see much on the radar. Otherwise, Minnesota, those storms I mentioned earlier near Melrose and Freeport and Albany did get a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag. Again, we are seeing some rotation in here. West of Farming, near Spring Hill, Lake Henry, New Munich, Freeport, Albany, Melrose, and up towards Uppsala and Elmdale, where it kind of connects with that area of storms near Little Falls. And still a little rotation in this storm too. So this storm also has a tornado possible tag. So watching that whole section of line, really from Belle Prairie, Little Falls, down the I-94 corridor around Albany, Farming, and yeah, just to the north and west of Paynesville. Non-severe right there, but you're going to get some thunderstorms here in a few minutes in Paynesville, Minnesota. We'll also take a look here. That storm that had the pretty good hail core around Marionville and now Porky in northwest Pennsylvania is also severe warned. So small cell, but a quarter-size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, not out of the question. And then still have severe warnings here around Oil City and Titusville, especially points north of Titusville, Townville, Clement Corners, and Spartansburg. And then the warnings have been allowed to expire. Yeah, those dropped off pretty quick around Newcastle. Still some storms around Newcastle, but the severe storm has gone below severe limits there around Newcastle. So now that it's getting 7:06 here on the Eastern time, some of these storms here should start to die down. Yeah, we had some tree and power line damage in Newcastle earlier. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some small hail reports out of that area too. And then the other areas here around Clarksburg, strong storms over Clarksburg are subsevere. Your 60-mile-an-hour winds is just to the west of Clarksburg, moving towards Salem, West Union, Canton, and Ashley, West Virginia. Not much in the southeast here with these. The heat dome is definitely building in. A couple scattered, isolated storms here in Kentucky, and a little bit here around the Great Lakes. But yeah, those storms in western Pennsylvania and a little bit here into West Virginia. Looks like most of the coverage for the east coast here. And then you can see we're watching this area here offshore for the potential tropical cyclone. Regardless of a name and regardless of where it goes exactly, it's most likely going to be here in Mexico. But even if the low pressure system or tropical storm, the center of that goes into Mexico, it's very lopsided. A lot of the moisture is on this north side. So you can see that out to sea here a lot of this moisture over the next 24 hours is going to be pouring into the Texas Gulf Coast. So definitely storm warnings there. Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Especially, we may have a live stream for the tropical system, potential tropical cyclone 1 tomorrow. Not a lot of severe weather is expected in the U.S. tomorrow, but there could be a little bit of an increase down here in very southern Texas. But especially if it gets a name, and depending if it rides a little closer to the U.S. border, we may do a live stream tomorrow too to cover some of that. But all right, let's go back here. We'll take the line again. Yeah, all those warnings I think we just covered in Pennsylvania. So we'll take this line again from north to south. Severe thunderstorm warnings coming into Thunder Bay, Ontario. We'll briefly touch up there and see. Those are coming through Sunshine, Ontario right now. And right here towards Grand Portage, where Minnesota and Ontario get together. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings here in Ontario. And definitely some strong storms, maybe some rotation still in a couple of these areas here to watch out. And then the strongest storms have pushed offshore, Grand Marais towards Silver Bay. Still pretty strong storms here to the west of Two Harbors. So we'll keep an eye on those storms. Good news is for this area around Cotton, finally not seeing a lot of rotation. You can see it's pretty much all green. Maybe a little bit right there on the leading edge of that little cluster of storms. That's, I think, the culprit. That's what's left of the culprit that caused the tornado warnings here. So we'll keep an eye on that, but should be dying down. If it did indeed produce a tornado that was reported by law enforcement, it's not a supercellular thunderstorm, so it probably produced some type of land spouty thing. But we'll have to see what the National Weather Service. I'll be curious to see what they survey that one as. We'll get all the details. Strong storms pushing through Little Falls, and then also back down towards the I-95 corridor, or I-94, Freeport, Albany, New Munich, down to Lake Henry, and areas around Paynesville in central Minnesota. A couple areas of rotation. Keep an eye on those. Those do have tornado possible tags. And again, nothing in Minneapolis right now. Watching southern Minnesota with some storms. Non-severe around Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls, you've been dropped from the watches. So Sioux Falls, you're good to go for the rest of the night. Maybe a lingering shower storm here over Sioux Falls now, but that's going to continue to clear out. Strong storms sub-severe right now around Ida Grove and approaching Storm Lake. Those are those slightly stronger storms that I mentioned earlier around Battle Creek, Holstein, Ida Grove, and then up towards Storm Lake. And then strong storms here north and west of Omaha, up towards West Point, Fremont, approaching you guys, Wahoo, and then severe thunderstorms Ashland, Waverly, Lincoln. Outflow boundary extends out from those, so the outflow boundary is pushing through Blair and now into the western Omaha suburbs. So you're going to get some gusty winds out ahead of us around Valley and Utan. Also approaching Memphis, Ashland, Greenwood, Waverly, Lincoln. Lincoln is in it right now. But especially if you're east of Lincoln, you got a few more minutes. Bennett, Rokeby, Sprague, Hickman, Hallman, Firth, and Kramer, all in east central Nebraska. Those storms also extend down here towards Dakin, Western, and Wilbur. And then got an extension here of this kind of renegade cell moving northeast from the areas around Alma over towards Minden, Wilcox, and Hildreth. Again, this one's also moving a different direction than a lot of our storms today. It's actually moving north-northwest. So if you're up here towards Minden, this one's actually at a pretty good clip too. I think earlier it was at 45. Yeah, it's moving northeast at 45. So that gives you, let's see, northeast at 45. And that gets you to Minden in about 29 minutes. Minden, 29 minutes. Yeah, not as much time. Some of the other storms are moving slower and more towards the east. New severe warning here. This is for Russell. Considerable threat. Just along I-70 from Russell, Kansas up towards Lucas and Sylvan Grove. Also includes Grant. North of Wilson, Kansas. But especially if you're north side of the I-70 here towards Wilson Lake. That area is all under the severe warning. And then we pick up our other severe warnings here in central Kansas, south of Bazine, towards Hanston, Burdett, Spearville, O'Furley, Dodge City, Ensign, Montezuma, Fowler, Mineola, Meade, Plains, Kismet, and Liberal. You guys all have tornado possible and quarter-size hail. There's a couple areas of rotation that we were watching. So far, those have behaved themselves. The strongest area of wind is probably, well, we can see this area of wind easiest because it's right here by the radar, but seeing definitely 55, 60 mile an hour winds in here. And since we're so close to the radar, we're seeing at a pretty low level and also coming towards the radar. So we're seeing at a pretty accurate level here of those storms pushing through Dodge City. Yeah, those are, I think we've covered that whole line here at the moment. So let's go back and we'll take a look at our storms here in Pennsylvania. Western Pennsylvania getting in on some storms. This has been upgraded, a considerable threat for lime-sized hail and 60 mile an hour winds. Especially this area here around Sheffield. And then probably another little hail core here around Tidowit, along US 62, then up from Sheffield to Clarendon, and over towards Titusville. A couple cells in here, and they're decently strong here, so that's why there's the considerable threat for lime-sized hail. Some other storms non-severe, but those are over towards Ludlow and Lafayette in Pennsylvania right now. And then storms have gone below severe limits around Newcastle. Still watching a couple storms, but those are all below severe limits. Also, same for areas here in northeast Ohio. One strong storm here near Toledo, but it's over Lake Erie here at the moment. You can take a look at that one on the Detroit airport radar. Gonna get a new warning here for this storm. It's around Vermilion, South Dakota. It's another one that's kind of not in a organized line here. It's kind of in this little cluster here north of Sioux City. Again, Sioux City, you guys have been dropped from the... Or sorry, I was thinking of Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls have been dropped from the warning. Sioux City, you guys still have the severe thunderstorm watch here. This is just outside of that severe thunderstorm watch. This is around Mechlin, Westerville, Emmett, and up along I-29 here towards Braesford. Strong thunderstorm here, 60 mile an hour wind and quarter-size hail. That purple core, you gotta watch. That can always indicate some upscaling that may produce larger hail. Now that we're so close to the radar site here in Omaha, we can also kind of gauge some of these storms. We can see those 50, 60 mile an hour winds approaching the radar here. Yeah, here's some more in here. So that'll probably verify those 50 to 60 mile an hour wind reports. We'll likely see more of those as these continue to work through eastern Nebraska right now. Lincoln, up towards Waverly, Wahoo, and then now approaching Valley and Fremont, and then also non-severe, but up here towards Hooper, Tecuma, Oakland. You guys have some pretty strong storms, non-severe at the moment. The strongest part here is that area from Fremont down through Lincoln, and that's all working its way towards Omaha. So that'll be, we'll have to watch you guys here in a little bit. Also have this hailstorm here working northeast, Wilcox, Hildreth, and Minden in south central Nebraska. This storm, once again, has a long history producing hail, about a 50 to 60 mile path of consistent 1 to 1.5 inch hail reports. Watching another considerable threat storm here north of Wilson towards Wilson Lake, Lucas, Sylvan Grove here in Kansas along I-70. And then watching these strong storms here south of I-70. There's still some pretty strong storms here south of Hayes near Victoria and Pfeiffer. That has a pretty good hail core right in here. And let's see, we can probably see it. Yeah, there's a little hail in there. Pretty strong storm. Also near Alexander. And then severe storms here. We see those surging through Dodge City here at the moment, but strong storms Spearville, Dodge City, Cimarron back towards Montezuma, Copeland, Sublette, Santana, and then between Liberal and Moscow. That's probably one of the stronger hail cores down in this part of the system at the moment. This area does have a tornado possible tag. Not seeing a lot of imminently tornadic rotation. So some good news there here in south central Kansas. The storm has a little rotation on it too, south of Hayes near Pfeiffer. Have to watch that area too. Pretty good amount of wind in here too. So this is probably a closer storm to getting a severe warning. South of Victoria towards Pfeiffer. And then, haven't mentioned it in a few minutes, but there's no severe warnings in Minnesota, but that area in northeast Minnesota has gotten a lot of rain. There's flash flooding that is ongoing. Let's see. Yeah, that area has gotten a lot of rain. Definitely as it gets into the evening, please turn around, don't drown. Let's see. Minnesota Duluth, the NWS office out of there is reporting probably a good 3 to 6 inches of rain in a lot of that area. 4 to 6 inches and rain continuing to fall. So we can also check on that. So, yeah, it's kind of the same area here on our radar that the Minnesota Duluth NWS office is showing. This one even actually samples it as possibly even over 6 inches. So we could even have some areas here that are even a little higher, 6 to 7 inches of rain. But either way, at least 4 to 6 inches, and then even pockets of higher precip. And yeah, the big problem is there's still rain falling Some of the heaviest is south of that area, south of Ely in Virginia and Grand Rapids, Minnesota, but also there is more showers and storm activity back here that's also going to be pushing that way. So yeah, there's still a lot of rain to come in that area. Not a good night. Please turn around. Don't. Yeah, there's even some heavier thunderstorms back here towards Red Lake and southwest of Bemidji. So nothing severe, but heavier rain thunderstorms. That's all got to move through that same area. So I think that's one of the severe weather things that we have to watch out for tonight that may not get a lot of attention with tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm considerable threats. Is there's a considerable threat observed, flash flooding going on here in northeast Minnesota. So yeah, if you're in this area north of Duluth and also along the Canadian border here from Thunder Bay, International Falls, east of Bemidji, and north of Duluth, please turn around, don't drown. If you have an area that has, if you're in a dry spot now, it's maybe just a good idea to stay there. There's a lot of wooded, rural roads in here that you don't want to get kind of stuck in. So yeah, definitely take it easy there in northern Minnesota. New severe thunderstorm warning here out of Buffalo. Maybe up in the hills, so we can't see it very good, but there's a small but looks like strong cell here towards 219. This is towards Ellicottville, Ashford, Great Valley, Franklinville, Farmersville, Freedom, Arcade, and Sardinia. .60-mile-an-hour wind and quarter-size hail. It's a pretty small storm, but it's packing a punch. And then we work down here into northwest Pennsylvania, around Sheffield, and over towards Titusville. That's where our strongest storms here are in Pennsylvania at the moment. Considerable threat for lime-sized hail that's approaching Clarendon, Sheffield, and Tidwoot. New thunderstorm here also being warned for quarter-size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's between Grove City and Hermitage, Pennsylvania. Also moving northeast towards the I-79 corridor. Let's see, Fairview, Shakelyville, New Vernon, and Salem. Sandy Lake, Jackson Center, and Mercer. It's pretty much over Mercer and just to the north of Mercer right now, along Pennsylvania 58. So still some scattered strong to severe thunderstorms here in northwest Pennsylvania and a little bit here into southwest New York. And also still have a severe thunderstorm warning here in northern Virginia, or northern West Virginia, sorry. West Union, Salem, Canton, and Ashley. That storm isn't moving much either. So maybe a bit of a local flood threat here around Clarksburg. What do they have this listed at moving? At 15, moving at 15. So we do have strong to severe thunderstorms here in kind of north central West Virginia, around Clarksburg. Wouldn't be shocked if we get a flood warning out of that area here. Again, similar to what I was just talking about in northern Minnesota, a lot of rural roads, a lot of mountain roads, hilly country here. So turn around, don't drown. And definitely as it gets darker here into the evening, around Clarksburg, just keep an eye on any flash flood situation there. Strong storms, our strongest storms here, I think, have pushed off into Lake Superior. Also, north of the border, we have some pretty strong storms. That's pushing through Thunder Bay, Ontario right now. Still a couple areas of rotation that would be worth watching for. There's a couple notches in this part of the line. There's one right here. There's one, I think, right over 589. Yeah, right there. Those are kind of those QLCS type situations where you get a quick spin up Would not be shocked if we got one out of there. So north of Thunder Bay, especially, and then over towards Dorion, maybe eventually over towards Red Rock. Got to watch out for these severe thunderstorms here in southwest Ontario. Again, not a super high populated area up there, but watching also a little notch south of Thunder Bay. That one's in a little bit higher populated area. And then those storms have all pushed offshore right now, so they're over the cooler waters of Lake Superior. They will likely die down a little bit as they approach the northwest shores of the UP towards Holton and Ironwood. You guys may get some strong storms later tonight, but it should dampen their intensity here coming across this cooler water in Lake Superior there. Some stronger storms back, non-severe at the moment, back northwest of St. Cloud. From areas here around, let me zoom in and see, Ball Bluff and Hill City, down towards Aiken, Crosby, Crowwood, Wing, let's see, Belle Prairie, Little Falls, and then down towards Farming and Albany. Keep an eye on those storms. Pretty strong storms. They're not severe, but this is a pretty strong cluster of storms here in central Minnesota at the moment. We'll pick up the severe storms here around Vermilion. Looks like that storm is dying off a little bit, but Emmett and Beresford, keep an eye on those storms. And then our storms have gone sub-severe here for Omaha, but still watching this area here. Lincoln, Waverly, Ashland, Wahoo, Fremont, now into Omaha. That's going to be at least gusty winds, and also probably take care of some of the baseball tournament on time. This will probably cause some delays here in Omaha. Let me grab a quick drink. Okay, got a good drink of water there. Yeah, non-severe storms at the moment, but still pretty strong storms. And wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour, so they're just shy of being severe thunderstorms. And those are pushing through Fremont down to Lincoln at the moment. We pick up the other severe thunderstorm here south of Minden towards Hildreth. Quarter-size hail. This has had a history of 1-inch hail all the way down into Kansas. And it's still pretty strong storms here in northern Kansas. Just sub-severe around Mankato, Jewel, Beloit, Asherville, down to Hunter, Grant, and Sylvan Grove. That's where you get these severe thunderstorm warning, 60-mile-an-hour winds. We'll have to see what these do later here in the evening. They may get over towards Junction City and Manhattan, Kansas. Still pretty strong. The models don't show a ton of forward progress with these storms, especially the ones in Kansas. So they're probably not going to get to Kansas City until early in the morning and won't likely be severe by then. Yeah, a lot of the severe activity is expected to stay kind of out in central Kansas. This is going to get upgraded to a special weather statement. Again, I wouldn't be shocked if we got a severe thunderstorm warning out of that storm. Either one of these, the one around McCracken and Alexander, or the one just south of Victoria. They're just below the severe criteria, looks like right now. And then strong storms that are severe with tornado possible. And the hail has come down, so that's a good sign there. But Rosal, Burdett, Hanston, Jetmore over towards Spearville and Offerly. The storms haven't fully got to Dodge City yet, but you can see the outflow boundary has. So the gusty winds have already come through Dodge City, Spearville, and right now approaching Offerly, Kansas. And then pretty good surge of winds here around Montezuma, along US 56 towards Haggard and Ensign. To watch this area here, there's a little bit of a, this storm has a little bit of a notch. It's not rotating at the moment. It also has a little bit of an outflow boundary convergence there. So not rotating at the moment, but just an area here kind of between Montezuma and Ensign to watch. Yeah, we'll have to just watch that storm southwest of Dodge City. Yeah, big wind there through Montezuma. And then down towards Liberal, Kansas, still, yeah, again, forward progress is not happening here much. So still have storms west of Liberal, Kansas, and west of the US 55 corridor here. Kismet, Plains, Meade, Fowler, you guys all have severe thunderstorm warnings. Again, there's a little bit of an outflow boundary, so you may get some wind surging ahead of that before you get the storms. We're going to have to watch a scan or two here, I think. Yeah, it has a nice presentation on radar, and it has these connections here to the outflow boundary. So if it latches onto the outflow boundary, gets a little extra spin, that could, it's trying, I think, to tighten up. I'll have to watch this one here. It's trying to do something. So you have your winds going up towards the radar here in the green. Not much winds going away from the radar at the moment. Let's see if I can wrap some of this around here. And there's this outflow boundary right in here. Nothing imminently tornadic in this line, but if anything would be, I would guess it would be this area around Ensign. Which is why, especially with a tornado possible tag, it's good to be in your safe space or be ready to go to your safe space. So have your tornado action plan and know where you're going to go in a tornado warning. And then, especially a severe thunderstorm, considerable threat, or a severe thunderstorm with a tornado possible tag, it's good to be somewhat close to your safe space. So you might not have to go into the hall closet or the bathroom without in the center of your house, but be on your lowest level, be away from windows already, and be ready to take action if you do get the tornado warning. Watching still beyond that little area spin there, watching those surging winds, likely severe winds here over Montezuma and approaching Haggard there. Yeah, a couple really strong storms still in Kansas. And then below severe limits for the thunderstorms right now in northern Minnesota, but we have a severe flash flooding situation. Flash flood, considerable threat ongoing here. Observed and considerable around Eli, points west of there towards Linden Grove, Cook, Tower, Willow Valley. Really all of kind of northern Minnesota here, northeast Minnesota. There's between 4 to 6 to even 7 inches of rain that have fallen. So this is definitely a big threat here. And still raining and still more rain over here. So there's still more rain and showers and storms that have to move through this area. And then watching storms here further south into central Minnesota, St. Joseph, Albany, Rice, Little Falls, Belle Prairie. Non-severe at the moment, but there's been tornado possible tags with those. I'm not seeing any areas of rotation here at the moment. but we'll keep an eye on those storms. Pretty strong around St. Joseph, coming into St. Cloud, Minnesota here at the moment. And then also, they're non-severe at the moment, but I had been watching those storms around Storm Lake. Still showing some pretty good storms there. And then really coming into Omaha right now, it's probably going to cause some delays again to the baseball situation. The College World Series in Omaha. They've gone below severe limits, but still gusty winds surging through Omaha right now. And that goes down towards Ashland, Waverly, and now east to Lincoln. Earlier here, we had a law enforcement reported a semi flipped over east of York, Nebraska. So, let's see. Actually, there's a little near the Utica exit. Okay, yes, that is the exit right there. So yeah, once again, these were pretty strong storms here through east central Nebraska today. And also watching this strong to severe thunderstorm here near Minden, Nebraska, with still likely some small hail between Minden and Norman. So that is a stronger storm. We'll also check and see here. We have some stronger storms in Kansas near Beloit, Mankato, sub-severe. And then we're going to get a big extension of this line here. So Larned, Kingsley, over towards Spearville. If you're along US 50 here, Belpre, Lewis, Centerview, Felsburg, Tuestale, down towards Ford, and then just north of Bucklin. That is a new severe thunderstorm warning there. You're going to get, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to get this line here. This is your outflow boundary, so it's a big surge of winds. We can also see this here in the wind profile. Again, you can see this line. It's coming through Kinsley just about any time now. But you're going to get this gust of winds, possibly severe gusts, before you get the rain and lightning and thunder. And that is actually working its way pretty far out ahead of the line. It's at its peak here. It's about 13 to 14 miles ahead of this line. So that is an interesting dynamic here that it's well worked away ahead of those storms. And then I'm watching these, this area here around Ensign is trying to rotate. It's also connected to a couple of these outflow boundaries, so it's locked in pretty good here. If it can get some of that local vorticity, I would not be surprised if it tries to produce a tornado. This area does have a tornado possible tag. We're also pretty close to the Dodge City radar. This is, let's see, this is about 17, 18 miles from the Dodge City radar. So we can see this on a pretty low level here. It's along US 56, right in the Ensign, Kansas area. So we'll keep watching that. They're going to get also an extension of this warning for quarter-size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. That includes, again, along the Route 54 corridor from Bloom, Mineola, Fowler, Meade, Plains, Kismet, and down to Liberal, Kansas. Still pretty strong storms north of Liberal, Kansas. That is also likely some larger hail in here. The purple and blue colors indicate some of this larger hail right over Woods, Kansas. Along Kansas 51. Not seeing a big burst of strong winds here, but that is likely a little bit larger than the warning is, let's see, quarter size. That could be approaching the $50 to even ping pong ball size if it continues to upscale. Let's see. Let me see if I can get an update from the National Weather Service on anything here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, we can check that. Got a, since we don't have a tornado warning here at the moment, we can check that. We got some reference to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico had a severe thunderstorm warning. Was it about 2 or 3 weeks ago? A severe thunderstorm warning. Their warnings are issued differently slightly than the other National Weather Service offices, so they sometimes don't show up on here, but pretty recently it was a severe thunderstorm warning. Actually have a trained observer reported thunderstorm wind damage in the plantain plant, no, damage to plantain plants, and that is along, let's see, Puerto Rico 155. So you guys had some pretty strong storms. Let me check here. Looks like most of your action has moved offshore. So most of your action here has moved offshore in Puerto Rico. A lot of trade wind showers today. But yes, it looks like a better evening here for Puerto Rico. Taking a look out of the San Juan radar. We can see those moving offshore. And I will check. We can check also the storm rainfall. Looks like there are some higher areas of precip here, especially in the northern and western sections of Puerto Rico. A couple areas here got at least a few inches of rain today. This area around up here in the mountains, Pico San Bernardo, got about close to 4 inches of rain today. So some high altitude thunderstorms that have moved now offshore here. They're out of the mountains and moving away from Puerto Rico. But you guys should be better here the rest of the evening in Puerto Rico. Maybe a couple more showers just to watch, but you may get some trade wind showers moving through, but looks like the strongest cluster of storms here has now moved offshore, so that's good. This whole area is basically under the same concept as everybody else here. We have a giant high pressure system that's setting up here over the east coast, and around that high pressure system the wind circulates around the high pressure clockwise. So that's giving you an eastward flow here through Puerto Rico. And that eastward flow continues basically all the way through into the Gulf of Mexico. We have a low pressure, may form a tropical cyclone. It may not though, but that is also funneling moisture into the Gulf of Mexico. And that's why the flood threat has been really high in South Texas, as also the central Gulf Coast this week, is because there's this ton of moisture flow basically across the Caribbean and then funneled into the Gulf of Mexico. So, yep, Puerto Rico, you guys should be calmer the rest of the night. Alright, we're getting a new tornado warning now, so we gotta get to that here. I'm gonna guess it's probably gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be that storm that I mentioned just a little bit ago. This is that storm that we've been watching here for a little bit near Ensign. Let's see. Switch that around. It's definitely tightened up that rotation. We also have those strong winds here surging from Montezuma. But let's back this up just a tad, and we'll take a look at the radar here. So when I first kind of called it out, it was somewhere in this position, and it's latched onto a couple different outflow boundaries. You can see, yeah, it has latched on those outflow boundaries, and that surging wind has also helped. With that surging wind now pushing through south of Ensign. Let me get this off of here. There it goes. That wind has surged through Ensign, and the storm is able to kind of use that outflow and tighten up its rotation. So you have our warm, moist inflow coming in over 56 through Ensign right here, and you have some cooler outflow winds surging out to the south of there. And just in here is your rotation, just near Ensign and Route 56. You can also see it here. We're going to get an updated reflectivity scan, but there's your warm inflow coming in here, your inflow notch, and here's your surging winds out here. Now we're going to have to watch. This may not have a long time to organize, but it's going to organize very quickly, and it's going to cut itself off. I'm guessing we have a tornado on the ground. We do, I think, have a tornado on the ground right here. So within the last scan, it is very quickly tightened up here along that outflow boundary. This is what I called earlier here. So we have one scan there was pretty good. Another one here, it's really tightened up along that outflow boundary. And then right here, it is definitely on the ground. Yep, there's your tornadoes. This probably will go observed here in just a few minutes. Also a bit of a weak echo region in here. That's your updraft. And yeah, this is likely on the ground here. Just south and east of Ensign and south of US 56 towards Sayre. This warning does include, this warning includes 283 south of Dodge City. Dodge City itself, Will Roads Gardens, Will Roads, up through the radar site. Let's see what else is here north of Dodge City. Northwest or northeast sides of Dodge City. I don't see a lot of community names out here, but if you're northeast of Dodge City, that also includes you. And again, if you're along 400, Will Roads Gardens, and Dodge City south here towards 283, and then also out here towards Sayre and Ensign. That is a dangerous storm, likely producing a tornado. There's your CC drop right in here. And that will co-locate with that. So that is likely on the ground here. We have our winds. This is also very low level. We're very close to the radar site. So we have very strong winds going towards the radar and okay winds going away from the radar. And that's where we see the signature there. That is likely on the ground. We'll likely cover more of Puerto Rico, especially as it goes into the tropical season. If we have tropical weather affecting Puerto Rico, we will cover that. The tropical season is just starting to ramp up, so we will likely have more hurricane coverage as the summer continues. But yeah, really tight area circulation here. And we'll get a new scan in here in just a second too. It's now moved. We've not received the scan for the velocity yet, but let's see. There it is there. It may be right in here. Have to wait for the velocity scan. Okay, here's your velocity scan, your new velocity scan. It's right here. So here's your tornado just to the east of Ensign. This is along Saddle Road. Saddle Road east of Ensign. Let's see. This is going to be about 4.5 miles east of Ensign, Kansas here. Let's just tweet this out and make sure we got everybody covered here. I want to split screen it here for a second. You guys can see a little bit of both profiles here. So there is your high-res velocity, and then here is your reflectivity right in there, and then right in here. That is a nasty storm just near Ensign and Sayre, Kansas, southwest of Garden City. So if you're southwest of Garden City, please stay in your safe space there. And we'll make sure we get this out to as many people as we can. So definitely share if you know people that are in this area here. This is a dangerous storm. And we'll make sure we get this out to as many people as we can. All right. Especially dangerous situations like this. We're close to a pretty populated community here of Dodge City. And let me just give you some updates here on, yeah, you can see it's starting to weaken. The last scan here, not as good. Let's go back to the single screen here, and we can see why. So as I mentioned earlier, it was a bit of an outflow dominant rotation. We had this big surge of wind here around Montezuma. That surged out right along those outflow boundaries, convergence along the outflow boundary, and also the storm was trying to tighten up. That's where we started to see the indication of a tornado. And that, though, has continued to surge out. There's your area rotation. There's your outflow boundary. There's your other outflow boundary that exists along here. So this area has surged out, continuing to surge out, and it's kind of cutting off that area circulation. We can see that here. As we go a little forward, tornado likely in progress right there, just to the southwest or southeast of Ensign. And that continues to move south and east. But the last scan, not much in here anymore. Because that surge there has kind of cut itself off. This does continue to be a radar indicated tornado. Let's see. It is near. This is northwestern Ford County. And also east central Gray County. So there is your warning here. Let's see, what do they have this moving at? At 25, moving east at 25. Still have that area rotation. It's still in here a little bit. It's on this Saddle Road, east of Ensign. So that's what's left of the area of rotation. We can back out here, and yeah, it's kind of cut itself off. There is your rotation. There you go. There's a good look at it from the reflectivity. Is the rotation is still tucked back in here, but it's now pretty much cut off from that warm, moist inflow here through the outflow. So if we do get a new area of rotation, it'll likely be out ahead of that old one. So this is still a dangerous storm. South of Dodge City, stay in your tornado safe space. That's lowest level into your room, away from doors and windows, and put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. If you have a basement or storm shelter, that is better than the lowest level into your room. If you do have the basement or storm shelter and you can get below ground level, that's always a safe bet. Likely some larger hail also coming towards Dodge City, so another reason to stay indoors away from windows. Even if you're on your lowest level, make sure there's no skylights above you. So especially if you're not inside the tornado warning, if you're out here towards Liberal, Kansas, with some of the larger hail out here, it's good to be on your lowest level and away from windows, but just make sure you're away from your, not just your side windows, make sure you're away from your windows that are above you too, especially with larger hail like we're seeing in those returns north of Liberal, Kansas. Most of your tornadoes in Puerto Rico are going to be those tropical tornadoes associated with tropical systems, but also Puerto Rico can get tornadoes similar to Florida, with interactions of outflow boundaries and also the or interactions with those outflow boundaries and the sea breeze fronts. In Florida, we get water spouts and tornadoes will spin up. Florida and Puerto Rico are the same. They have a landmass surrounded by water. I'll draw it kind of here. But you have a landmass surrounded by water, and outflow boundaries and sea breeze fronts will push into the middle of those areas, create convergence, and thunderstorms go up. But they don't move that much. Those thunderstorms then release their own outflow boundaries as they die off. And it's sometimes like ripples in a pond, especially if they're really not moving that much. And those interact with each other. They bump into each other, and that can create little spin-ups. That's also water spouts and things like that in Florida. And we're seeing that a little bit right here. We're seeing those outflow boundaries interacting. The storm has latched onto those outflow boundaries. It was one of the things that drew me to this storm. Highlighted it before it was tornado warned, as this storm is riding that connection point between those outflow boundaries. And it used that to enhance that vorticity. We saw likely a tornado on the ground there for a couple scans. Each scan is roughly about 4 minutes, so maybe about 8 minutes. Not seeing one in here now. In fact, that rotation has really died off. Kind of a broader level of rotation at the moment. And we're seeing that also visually. There's a new scan coming in here. So we're seeing just a really broad level of rotation. We'll get a new scan for reflectivity here in a minute too. But yeah, definitely not as impressive as it was a minute ago. We can back it up and take a look at this here. Once again, this is basically tornado genesis here as we watched it. Surging winds through Montezuma and Haggard. Starting to see signs of rotation pick up here around Ensign with that surging wind here on the rear flank. And then that really accelerated that local area of vorticity right around Ensign and just to the south and east of Ensign. There's your surging rear flank there. also with the outflow boundaries attached to it. We can even see that here. Move that thing. So there's your tornado right in here. Here's basically your surge of wind and RFD combined. Here's one of your outflow boundaries. And then there's the other outflow boundary like that. So we can really see how this latched onto those outflow boundaries, was able to just funnel some of that warm inflow in here, and also use those outflow boundaries to enhance that local vorticity, create a little tighter area, low pressure, and that's what created a little bit of a tornado right there. We're not seeing that as much right now. We're seeing a broad area rotation as it approaches 283 here, just to the south of Dodge City. We'll see if the storm can try again. It's in a decent environment to do this again, and it may be trying to. We can start to see it surge here. Yeah, we'll see if it can surge again and tighten up this area right in here. But this is just to the south of Dodge City. And they've trimmed this up a little bit, 7:03 Central Time, so this is just a new warning here. Capable of producing a tornado near Dodge City, moving east at 25. And this storm will be near Dodge City in about 10 minutes, and also Fort Dodge around 7:10. What was it again? Around 7:15. The storm itself is actually in Dodge City, and they've actually trimmed the warning up a little bit. So this now includes just the southern side of Dodge City and also areas there around Will Rhodes Gardens. Will Rhodes Gardens, and Fort Dodge. You guys need to stay in your safe space. If you're south of Dodge City along 283, and if you're east of Dodge City along 400, that's the area here that is the most concerning area. And again, we'll see if it can tighten back up. If it would, it's south of Dodge City here. Dodge City itself, you guys are going to be in line for some of this hail as it slides through your area. So if you're already in your safe space, good idea to just stay in your safe space and stay in your safe space and let this storm pass. I want to check, now that that's not on the ground, I do want to check. We have a bunch of other thunderstorms here. 59 alerts right now. We also do have a new severe thunderstorm warning, a newer severe thunderstorm warning here with a tornado possible north of Duluth. Not seeing a lot of rotation in it, but Fredenberg and up towards Bassett and Fairbanks here in northeast Minnesota. That's a pretty strong thunderstorm with 60-mile-an-hour winds. We also have a huge flood threat, and this flooding kills a lot more people than I think a lot of people estimate. Let's see, wrong one. I want the storm total. There it is. So this area here from Grand Rapids all the way north of Pequot Lakes near Emily has had probably 4 or 5 inches of rain all the way up through Grand Rapids, Hibbing, Virginia, Evelyn, and then here north of Babbitt and around the Ely, Minnesota area has probably had 4 to at least 6 inches of rain, and some of these models are showing about 7.5 inches of rain, which is a ton of rain in this area. And that includes even areas around International Falls, Minnesota. So the tornado threat and your severe thunderstorm threat should be dying down, especially north of the Duluth area towards Grand Rapids, Bemidji, Virginia, and International Falls. But if you don't have to go out tonight, please turn around, don't drown. Flooding kills a lot of people, and these are pretty remote areas too, so you may not be able to get help right away if you find yourself caught in a flash flood out here. Let's see, going further south, Minneapolis, St. Paul, you guys are okay at the moment. Some just general thunderstorms north and west of town. And then also, much of Iowa is okay at the moment here. Some strong thunderstorms, but non-severe. Still the stronger storms near Omaha. They're pushing through Omaha right now, approaching Harlan and Avoca in Iowa. They're also down here towards Bellevue, Plattsmouth, Weeping Water, and eventually over towards Nebraska City. Omaha right now at 7:07. Hopefully you guys got home from work before all this. Surging winds already going through the Omaha Council Bluffs area, but this is going to cause delays to the baseball situation. Let me see. I don't know if there are any games actually scheduled today for the College World Series. Okay, some good news is the College World Series game was earlier at 1 o'clock Central. So 1 o'clock Central, and then the next game, it doesn't look like it's till Wednesday. So if that's accurate, then maybe no delays. Just an off night, and it's good it's an off night. All right, back here into Kansas. Those storms here near Bellevue and down towards Jamestown, they are severe warned now. 60-mile-an-hour winds and some small hail. That storm that was severe warned through Minden is now up here along I-80. That one had a long history of hail. And then also considerable threat, severe thunderstorm. This includes Great Bend, Albert, Hoisington, Sussex, Beaver, and Galatia. That is a strong thunderstorm over Bison. And that's where the 70-mile-an-hour winds come in. I'm guessing since there's no severe thunderstorm there, some of this is outflow based. 60-mile-an-hour wind and some small hail. Garfield, Larned, Belpre, Lewis, Kinsley, Offerly, Spearville. And then we pick up, the storms have separated a little bit, which is a little more concerning. This was a line of storms earlier. We pick up our tornado warned storm here south of Dodge City. Still trying to rotate again, so we'll have to see if it does. It's definitely increased its hail, and that is coming through Dodge City here at the moment. But if you're out ahead of this, especially towards Ford, keep an eye on this storm. Don't get to your safe place yet, but this is a dangerous supercell, and it's going to probably try and rotate tighter again. If it does, it's going to try and rotate in this area here. It's not at the moment. It's still pretty broad. But if it can tighten back up, it's also still riding these outflow boundaries here. We see that really clearly. There's one outflow boundary here, and then there's another right here. And it's right here basically at this triple point where it's riding this outflow boundary. And that is likely maybe what's saving us here at the moment from this reorganizing in another area rotation, is the outflow boundary, at least appearing here, is kind of just out ahead of this. If it can latch on and then get just, if it can pull these outflow boundaries back in, it needs some of this warm inflow that's just out ahead of this. And right now, those outflow boundaries have kind of blocked it off from getting that direct warm inflow. It's going to try, and maybe starting to see it here tighten back up. Yeah, it's going to try and get access to that warm inflow again, but it's just not perfectly latched onto that outflow boundary yet. We also have to watch this storm here back by Ensign still. Another storm that has likely some larger hail in it here near Haggard. And then these are all hail producers down here towards Liberal, Kansas. A little bit of rotation also in a couple of these cells, but 3 cells here that have hail potential. One near Plains and Kismet, one just north of Liberal, and then one kind of northwest of Liberal. That one would be the strongest one, with some of that larger hail in the purple colors. So far, we have not seen those storms develop back into Texas yet. But watching a little bit here in this area for development. Let's see. Tropical storm. Oh, here. 3 minutes ago, let's see, the NWS has a, they're still watching that area in southern, especially eastern Minnesota, the severe threat there. There are storm chasers on that storm in Dodge City. So if we do get another tornado, we should be able to get a report from that. It's always nice to have the storm chasers on the ground. And then, let's see. Checking in with the National Hurricane Center. Still no tropical storm yet by the National Hurricane Center. Still listed here in an advisory just about 35 minutes ago. Advisory 5A, heavy rainfall, coastal flooding, and gusty winds expected along the Texas coast and northeastern Mexico through Thursday. Still listed as potential tropical cyclone 1. We do have a couple storms going up here in the Texas Panhandle. We'll have to watch those between Amarillo and Clovis. Have been keeping an eye on the things here down on the Texas coast, if anyone is watching and interested. We have most of the heavy rain and thunderstorms still just offshore. This is also going to likely have some of the gustier winds in here too. So we'll watch those move in overnight tonight. From Houston, Galveston, Corpus Christi, we can see, yeah, there's gusty winds offshore. So those will start moving in eventually overnight. We checked Puerto Rico. I don't know if you saw me earlier. I did. I did check Puerto Rico earlier for those storms that were offshore. You're right. They did put a special marine warning in offshore of Puerto Rico here. Let's see. Nearly stationary thunderstorms. So they're just sitting offshore. Yeah, water spouts and 40-knot gusts. So most of those storms have pushed offshore, but they're not moving that fast. Let's see here. Yeah, you know what? They're not fully stationary, but they're actually kind of backfilling on each other. They're still, this whole cluster is moving away from Puerto Rico, so I don't expect this to backfill into Puerto Rico, but yeah, they're not moving away that fast. Maybe a couple of showers here still in northwest Puerto Rico, but the biggest batch of showers is now offshore. And yeah, there could be some water spouts in here. We can also take a look. Let's see. There's your areas of rotation. So there's one here, and one here. So potential for a couple water spouts out there northwest of Puerto Rico. All right, let's check back here towards Dodge City. This storm is going to try and rotate again. It's trying to tighten back up. We're going to see, it looks like another surge of outflow winds. You can see those surging here towards Bloom and Kingsdown. If that can tighten some of those back here, that will help its rotation. It's still kind of broad at the moment. Wouldn't be totally shocked if they let this just play out and expire here in 14 minutes. It always could change from time to time, or from scan to scan, but it's not imminently tornadic at the moment. It still just has kind of a broad inflow region. And we can even see that on the reflectivity too. It's still somewhat outflow dominant here, almost too outflow dominant. And when it tried to tighten up and produce that tornado, it very quickly got cut off. So it would likely do that again. If you're in that warning though, don't take that lightly. This includes areas around Will Roads Gardens, and south of Dodge City. I want to check also our storms here in the East Coast. Several big hailstorms here in western Pennsylvania and Buffalo. There's a severe thunderstorm here. It's riding this outflow boundary or lake breeze. I'm not sure which one it is, but especially when it's hot outside like it is today, there's lake breezes, similar how Florida has those sea breezes, and it's similar how Puerto Rico does too. But there's a severe thunderstorm riding one of those lake breezes, it looks like. Freedom up to Arcade, Eagle, Java Lake, and Sheldon here in western New York, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Looks like the hail has come down on that storm. And then we have a cluster of storms producing some larger hail and gusty winds. This is over Allegheny Reservoir right now in northwest Pennsylvania. You can see some of those gusty winds too. Clarendon, Ludlow, Klondike, Lewis Run, Foster Brook, up to Bradford, Russell, and Warren, Pennsylvania. That's going to get extended out here for 1-inch hail and those 60-mile-an-hour winds up into New York, Allegheny, Carlton, Salamanca, Red House, Cold Spring, Great Valley, Humphrey, and Ashford. Some places, I think up here near Ashford, already had a severe thunderstorm, so if you know anyone there that your guys are in a new severe thunderstorm warning, those are for the other storms to your south. So those are moving northeast. We also have had a couple severe storms in West Virginia today. Those are moving over here towards Pine Grove, Jacksonburg, Reeder, Allister, and Marion. And then also watching these storms around Huntington, especially that one northeast of Huntington near Crown City is a particularly strong one. We can see that with the lightning. A lot of heavy lightning on that. And then still some strong storms here in Ohio, but those seem to be dying down. Okay, we're going to get new warnings in Kansas. Kind of a fill-in warning, it looks like. This one is a considerable threat for 70-mile-an-hour winds, and it's just, I think, a different National Weather Service office filling in. So, same storm, just different warnings for different departments here. Bison, Otis, Albert, over towards Sussank, Beaver, Hoisington, and Great Bend. Also includes now Pawnee Rock. And then we got a new warning specifically for this storm. And that's kind of what I thought they would do, is they're going to replace it as this gets ready to expire in 10 minutes. The larger storm gets replaced with a tornado possible, 70-mile-an-hour wind, considerable threat. We've seen those wind surges. This one has a couple areas of wind surge in it. On the south side, the rear flank has a 65-mile-an-hour wind surge. There's the one right there. 60, 50s. This is easily producing that. And then very close to the radar site. This is very close to the radar site. So we're seeing 72-mile-an-hour winds right over Fort Dodge. And this is very close to the radar site. So these are likely very low-level winds. And right over Will-Roads Crossroads and Fort Dodge. So that's the reason for the considerable threat. Likely verified here, basically, by how close we are to the radar. Would not be surprised if this tries to rotate again. It's not imminently rotating here. That would indicate an imminent tornado, but we'll keep an eye on that storm. Still strong storms down here in southern Kansas. Kind of watching this storm here west of Liberal, if it can get its act together. Also, this one coming into Kismet is a strong thunderstorm as well. Wouldn't be surprised if there's hail in all three of these. The one in the just west of Plains would be probably the weakest. But these two here near Kismet and Liberal likely have some larger hail in them as well. Moving up the line, let's see. We can check on these storms here. 60-mile-an-hour winds around Concordia and Belleville, Kansas, over towards Cuba, Kansas. Non-severe storms pushing through Omaha. and non-severe storms in southern Minnesota and central Minnesota. We pick up severe storms again north of Duluth. Not seeing much of a rotation with that storm. And then we also pick up severe storms in Thunder Bay and especially north of Thunder Bay. And once again, the severe threat is diminishing here in northern Minnesota, but the flash flood threat is still severe. So International Falls down to Virginia, Grand Rapids, east of Bemidji, near Ely, Minnesota. Those are all areas that, and even out here towards extreme northeast Minnesota, towards Grand Marias. Please take your flash flooding precautions seriously here, and turn around, don't drown. If you don't have to leave, especially like Duluth right now, if you don't have to leave to go north of Duluth, it might be a good idea just to hunker down in Duluth and let some of this drain out. But there's a ton of little rural communities in here, and a lot of little low-lying areas with lakes and streams that are likely flash flooding here ongoing. And yeah, I guess it technically is. Some of these are observed flash flooding, and also listed for considerable threat. Thought we had another warning, but that was for our Kansas storms. Still watching, let's see, Brownsville and Matamoros got a pretty heavy shower in here, so starting to see some of that moisture from the potential tropical cyclone work its way in. And either way, whether it does or not, the low pressure system is just going to funnel more of this moisture here from the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean all into southern Texas. So the next 24 hours or so is going to be a pretty rainy, windy time here for areas around Brownsville, McAllen, up towards Corpus Christi, Port Lavaca, Lake Jackson, and then just south of Galveston. Once again, if you're just joining us too, we have a tropical storm warning in effect for a lot of the coastal areas of Texas here for the next 36 hours. Let's see. Potential for wind 39 to 57 miles an hour. And let's see. Life-threatening storm surge, that's pretty much a given. Potential for storm surge inundation from 2 to 4 feet because we have that big fetch of water. No matter, again, what this becomes, whether it's named a tropical storm or not, it's funneling that moisture, but it's also funneling all the water into this area here. And the Texas coastline curves inland a bit, so we're kind of catching that water in a bowl. So definitely potential for storm surge, but also strong winds and a slightly elevated severe threat tomorrow. So they have allowed that tornado warning to expire. They're going to continue the tornado possible, $half size hail and considerable threat, 70-mile-an-hour winds. Not seeing a ton of rotation in here, but we are seeing those winds. They're pushing out through Spearville, Bloom, Ford, and Mineola. Buckland, get ready to hunker down here, and also towards Mullinville. Interior room, away from windows. Let those storms pass. And then this is that other area I think I mentioned earlier that I was worried about some flash flooding. These storms have really not moved much at all west of Liberal. Liberal's been in this severe thunderstorm warning for quite a while, and the storms are still west of you. So flash flooding 2 to 3 inches in the last 2 hours. That's a lot of rain for that part of the world too. As we get here into the high plains, the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle, western Kansas, and even up into Nebraska, this area is a little bit more semi-arid than parts, further east in the states. Like south and east Texas, southern Oklahoma, even southern Kansas and into Missouri. Much more humid environment here towards the Mississippi River Valley. But out here it's a little more semi-arid, so 2 to 3 inches is a ton of rainfall, especially when it's over the last 2 hours. And I'll check this area too. We can also take a look here at the storm totals. Oh, I keep hitting the wrong one. Yeah, this one also may have more than 2 inches, possibly into the close to 4 inch per hour here, or 4 inches in the storm total. So a couple hours back. If you're just joining us, we're watching here severe weather in the plains and tornado watch until 8 p.m. Central Time. That we'll have to see what they do with that watch here in about a half hour. We also have a severe thunderstorm watch that goes until 8 p.m. It basically covers eastern Nebraska, northwest Iowa, and then I-70 and points north. So it covers kind of this area in Kansas. It includes Omaha, Lincoln, up towards Sioux City, and then also up towards Mason City and Spencer. Right now, no severe thunderstorms in that part of the country, but there are storms that are severe along the Iowa or the Nebraska border with Kansas. Gusty winds and some small hail. The warning, tornado warning has expired, so we just have severe thunderstorm warnings in this severe thunderstorm watch area. This includes Russell, Hayes, Great Bend, Hutchinson, down to Liberal, Kansas, down to the Oklahoma border. This watch goes until 10 p.m. Central. So that is a little bit later of a watch, and also possibility of a few tornadoes, but also large hail. 80-mile-an-hour winds are possible, and I think we've seen that verify a little bit tonight. Getting a 1-inch hail report here out of Dodge City just a minute ago, or 9 minutes ago. So we'll likely see more of these large hail and wind damage reports come in from southern Kansas. And then also, we've been watching a pocket of severe weather here in the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes. Still 2 clusters of storms. We have and this one's probably dying out near Freedom. It's kind of riding an outflow boundary though, so we'll have to watch that one. But that has less than 1-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. But then we also do have quarter-size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds pushing into southern New York and northwestern Pennsylvania around Bradford, Salamanca, Hinsdale, New York, and then up towards Ashford. So we'll keep an eye on those. They should be dying out. It's now 8:29 Eastern. So we should see storms continue to decrease here. It was a very hot and humid day on the East Coast, so there is still some storm fuel, which is why some of these are ongoing here, especially in the Ohio Valley. And then also watching, I did mention that earlier too, that flood threat near Clarksburg. We had storms kind of sit west of Clarksburg, West Virginia for a while, so a bit of a flash flood threat there. Those storms now are near New Martinsville. They've just gone sub-severe, but still watch those for gusty winds and some small hail, as well as that storm north of Huntington, West Virginia. Sub-severe, but gusty winds and small hail likely as well in that area. So we've had a little bit of a decrease here, down to 10 severe thunderstorm warnings. 2 of them are considerable. Actually, 3 of them are considerable. The 2 are really just a split warning, though, between 2 of the warning areas. So this storm here is a considerable threat, severe thunderstorm from Larned up to Great Bend, Hoisington, and south of Russell. That's for 70-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-size hail. And then the storm here that's pushed through Dodge City is also considerable threat for half-dollar size hail and 70-mile-an-hour winds. We also had a tornado warning with this earlier, likely a tornado on the ground briefly just to the east of Ensign, somewhere in this area over here. Along, what was that, Saddle Road? Yeah, Saddle Road. That storm is non-tornadic here at the moment and actually looks a lot less organized than it did a few minutes ago. Still riding kind of the outflow boundary here, so we'll have to check it. We'll have to keep an eye on it, but you can see it is outflow dominant here at the moment. We do have surging winds up to 70 miles an hour possible. That's coming towards Bloom, Buckland, Mullinville, and Ford immediately right now. So Ford, you're probably getting those heaviest winds right now. Still have tornado possible tag. There's still some areas of rotation in these storms. There's one actually just north of Liberal that is worth watching. And then there's also a little bit near Plains. And there was some back here to the west of Liberal, but I'm not seeing that anymore. Yeah, that area has kind of broadened out. The one I looks like mostly concerned about would be this one north of Liberal. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Tornado possible tag. And up to quarter-size hail. I also wouldn't be surprised if we get a few more than quarter-size hail. Maybe even half-dollar size, especially that storm there, north and west of Liberal, Kansas. We'll keep an eye on these storms. Let me check in with the National Weather Service and see if they have some updates. Especially with those severe thunderstorm watches and tornado watch expiring here in a little bit. So about an hour ago, they did highlight this area in Kansas that we've been talking about. So let me go down to Kansas. They did highlight this whole area basically from the Kansas border down through the 54 corridor, basically highlighting the threat for hail, localized severe wind gusts, and a brief tornado may persist through mid-evening. So they're kind of seeing the same thing that we are here, is that the strongest storms right now seem to be in Kansas. They're also watching that area in Minnesota, particularly southeast Minnesota here. Over this area especially for any continued severe weather in the weather watch here. So pretty good environment still. We haven't seen a lot of severe weather here as of recently. A couple tornado warnings. Most of them were in northern Minnesota earlier today. And we saw maybe one confirmed tornado here on our stream, confirmed by law enforcement. So pretty feisty day in northern Minnesota. A big flood threat in northern Minnesota. And those storms are moving through Duluth at the moment here. So Two Harbors, Duluth, Silver Bay. Pretty strong storms. Not seeing anything imminently tornadic out of any of these, at least that are really standing out. Taking a look here. Just kind of general strong thunderstorms. There are a couple pockets of rotation to watch. So we'll keep an eye on those. May also have to watch, these storms are non-severe at the moment, east to Spencer, but they may continue to ride northeast up into the southern part of this severe weather tornado watch here, towards Owatonna, Austin, and Albert Lee. So if they do get into a slightly more favorable environment for development, we have to watch those. We can check briefly Puerto Rico. Yeah, still this special marine warning here northwest of Puerto Rico. Depending on what weather, or not weather service, but depending on what radar app you use, this may be a different color. So the comment was about the warning color being cream colored. I have seen that before. On my radar software, the special marine warnings show up as purple, but it's more of a radar preference. Some radar softwares you can even customize these. I believe I can. I just left this as the default, but Yes, this may be a different color depending on what radar software you use. Doesn't change the color of the warning doesn't change the warning itself. There is a couple of pockets of rotation still in there. Watching this area here. These are all moving away from Puerto Rico though, so should be a much clearer night here in Puerto Rico. Really anywhere on the island, but best chance of rain is maybe still northwest Puerto Rico, but most of this is offshore now. So, and I would guess this goes out to just where the U.S. controls the water. That would be my guess. Is this ends basically where the U.S. controls the water? Probably something like that. While we're down a little bit in the severe warnings, we can also take a look at maybe not. Here is a look at the potential tropical cyclone. Not a ton of organization right now. And it's very displaced. So a ton of the moisture is actually lined up for Texas, but the actual area of circulation is still down in the Bay of Campeche. So we're seeing a very disorganized system still. There's a few more thunderstorms down here, maybe closer to the center, but nothing over the center that's really indicating rapid development. And yeah, a lot of the highest clouds here that we're seeing in the blues and purple colors are actually way, way hundreds of miles north of the center. There's a look at it. The center may be right in here, at least the low-level center. We're not seeing storms over the center, so we're seeing some storms. Some of this is interacting with land, with the Yucatan Peninsula, and then you can see a little bit in here of that flow from the Gulf enhancing some of these outer core showers and storms, but yeah, still a pretty disorganized system here at the moment. New severe warning actually goes out for New York State. Quarter-size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's toward Geneva, New York. Yeah, there's your storm or your Gorham. I don't know if it's going to get up to this part. It actually looks like it may be going more east than north. So may have to get adjusted a little bit somewhere in this area. But Geneva, probably East Geneva, Parkwood Corners, Stone Church Corner, West Janius, Thompson, even over towards Waterloo, you guys might want to pay attention to that storm. And then a few other storms here, severe for some small hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds in western New York. I talked about those storms a few minutes ago. The ones that were approaching Albert Lee, they do have a severe thunderstorm warning now. So we'll have to watch as they do get closer to that tornado watch. The tornado watch means conditions are more favorable for tornadic development up here. So we'll have to see as they do get a little closer to some of that more favorable environment. But those are going through Humboldt right now, over towards Garner, Forest City, Lake Mills, Buffalo Center, Bancroft, Burt, and Algona in north central Iowa right now. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a warning out of these storms as they move towards Des Moines along I-80. Strongest part of that is around Harlan and Avoca right now. Omaha, things are clearing out for Omaha, and some good news to report. Omaha has been cleared from that severe thunderstorm watch. So you guys have a good rest of the night in Omaha. And then storms have also gone sub-severe here in northern Kansas. Still have to watch these here north of Junction City and continue from there. Grab a quick drink. Oh, and I did that all with the mic off. We'll know here in just about a minute if those weather watches get replaced. The one good thing is they also have removed the destructive tag from the storms here through Spearville and Greensburg. But whether it's a considerable threat or a destructive threat, if you are in a mobile home or camping trailer or a temporary structure, please seek sturdy shelter here. Offerly down to Mullinville and then over towards Greenburgh, Haviland, Belpre, Lewis, Kinsley, even towards Maxville and anywhere in between those. You guys need to get to a sturdy shelter immediately here. Centerville, Centerview, Fellsburg, and Truesdale. You guys all need to be in a safe space, sturdy structure, away from windows, lowest level, interior room, especially if you live in an area that has a lot of trees. If you're in a wooded area, there's not many woods out here, but if you do live in an area or a property that has a lot of trees, you need to treat this like it's a tornado with the destructive severe thunderstorm, 60, 70 to even 80-mile-an-hour winds, and also some quarter-size hail. They extended the warning down here, tornado possible still. There's a couple areas of rotation, that area near Liberal, and then I think I mentioned with the mic off also, I would not be surprised if the flood warning gets extended. This area has had a lot of rain, and these storms are not moving much, and they're just kind of training over the same area. So you didn't miss too much with the mic off, but you missed a few things that I said really good too. But yeah, this area around Liberal is not just in line for severe storms with wind and hail and some damaging wind, but also more than some other parts of Kansas. This part is in this part of the line is not moving that much. So up here it's moving a little stronger, but down at Liberal it is not. So all right, we're about to see what'll happen here if they replace this watch area for tornadoes and if they replace this severe weather watch. I'm gonna go grab this pizza, and then we'll see here when it comes back. I should be able to get the data from the National Weather Service on what they're gonna do with these weather watches. They were set to expire right now here at 8 p.m. Central Time. All right, always good when it cooperates a little bit and get dinner set up, and also there's no tornado warnings that go off while I'm getting that set up. All right, let's dive in here and we'll see also what the National Weather Service has set up. Let's see. They're still listing the slight risk area from Minnesota all the way down to the Texas Panhandle. So it looks like there are going to be some extensions. Looks like this is going to be extended out to 10 p.m. So I don't think it's fully updated yet, but skinny stretch of severe weather still possible here. And yeah, watching this area especially bowing out here from Carroll to Atlantic here west of Des Moines, that area may get a severe thunderstorm warning if that continues. Otherwise, watching this area here in southern Minnesota, right on the border here, Blue Earth and Albert Lee, got some severe storms approaching from the southwest. Forest City, Garner, and Lake Mills in Iowa. Still some strong storms up here in the UP of Michigan and also in southern or southwest Lake Superior here, I guess that would be. But over the lake is your strongest storms, but also Silver Bay down to Duluth. Some pretty strong storms here in the Duluth metro, including some flash flooding ongoing here in Duluth. Yeah, that's a pretty strong storm. Hermantown, Duluth, and Superior, Wisconsin. Otherwise, looks like still a chance of some severe weather in this area here around Sandstone. Nothing too organized right now. Large tree down here in West Bend, Iowa. That's behind this severe thunderstorm, 60-mile-an-hour wind, and some small hail in that. And then still north of Manhattan, Kansas, still watching some of these storms. Pretty strong, but non-severe here at the moment. Also watching storms here now east of Russell around Wilson and Ellsworth. Hoisington and Great Bend, we had a 74-mile-an-hour wind report from a train spotter in Barton County. So these storms here mean business. They've been warned previously for 70-mile-an-hour winds. Now they're downgraded to 60. Still dangerous storms. Ellenwood, Chase, Bushton, Frederick, Geneseo, Lorain, Kannapolis, Ellsworth, and Black Wolf, Kansas. Down in south central Kansas, we're still watching this dangerous storm, considerable threat, 70-mile-an-hour winds. We've seen that verify a couple times. This storm has also had a tornado when it was back here near Ensign, Kansas. It's now non-tornadic, but still producing damaging winds. Offerley, Kinsley, Lewis, Muhlenberg, Greensburg, and also in a little further, Crestview, Felsberg, and Truesdale. Also have strong storms here. Severe warn Mineola, Fowler, Meade, Plains, Kismet, down to Liberal, Kansas, right on the Kansas and Oklahoma border. Those stretch back towards Hugoton and Rolla in southwest Kansas. These are strong storms and not moving that much. So there's also a flood threat in here between Hugoton and Liberal, Kansas. A few areas of spin in here. At times there's been some, so this does have a tornado possible tag. Nothing too imminently has spun up recently. And then also still watching some storms here in now western New York. Quarter-size hail towards Batavia, Leroy, York, Warsaw with that storm. And then also some gusty winds and quarter-size hail. Geneva, Gorham, Penn, Yan, up towards maybe Phelps and West Geneas. We'll have to see if it... They're not moving that fast, so I don't know if they're going to get up that way. Also, already a special marine warning out for those storms on Lake Ontario. Pittsburgh looks quiet tonight. A few storms strong still near Wheeling. And then also a few strong storms north of Huntington. Otherwise, the East Coast is mostly dry here tonight, even down into Florida. A dry, hot day. And then also watching here, Galveston, Texas, Bay City, Victoria, Corpus Christi, Kingsville, and down towards the Mexican border here, Brownsville, Texas. You guys have pretty strong winds offshore, and we're watching the tropical development here for anything. Potential tropical cyclone. We can't get the visible satellite, but we can get the infrared. Still shows tonight a very ragged and unorganized system. Still a broad area of low pressure. Put it into motion. Still a broad area of low pressure here in the Bay of Campeche. Not a lot of development around the center of circulation. Our center appears to be at least low-level center. Looks like it might be right in here. Somewhere in here. And we have thunderstorms basically south of the center, north of the center, and then a ton of activity is north of that. Part of that is the broad Central American gyre is a larger low-pressure system, more at the upper levels, and it's funneling moisture through the Caribbean and up through the Gulf of Mexico and into Texas. So Texas, it's going to be rainy, windy, and certainly you may get some tropical storm conditions no matter what this thing has. If it has a name or not, you may get tropical storm conditions either way, just from all this water and moisture, not just on the ocean, but also at the upper levels. You can see there are pretty strong thunderstorms here building offshore the Gulf of Mexico, and they're all headed towards Texas. So it's going to be a rainy night, and it's going to be a night that increases rain and wind as the night goes on. Up to 10 severe thunderstorm warnings. Most of those are in the plains, but a few here in western New York. Lake Mills, Forest City, Garner. And then we're going to get extensions here for some of these storms in central Kansas. 60-mile-an-hour winds, Ellsworth, Wilson, Salina, Lindsborg, Marquette. And then down towards Great Bend, still have strong storms. Had a 74-mile-an-hour wind report near Great Bend just about 25 minutes ago. And then also considerable threats here coming through Kinsley and approaching Greensburg, Kansas. Considerable threats, 70-mile-an-hour winds, especially this area here from Kinsley down to this area north of Greensburg and approaching Centerville, Fellsburg, and Truesdale. Also Lewis and Belpre. You guys need to be hunkering down for this one. Lowest level interior room away from doors and windows and be in a stable structure. They warned this out ahead enough, so hopefully people had time to get to, a sturdy structure, almost like a tornado warning. Severe thunderstorms with tornado possible tag. A couple areas of rotation in here, but that's still running through Meade, Plains, Kismet, Liberal, Yugoton, and Rolla. That extends now considerable threat for 70-mile-an-hour winds down into Oklahoma, Tyrone, Hooker, and just near Forgan, Oklahoma here in the Oklahoma Panhandle. Yeah, you can see there's some gusty winds on that part of the storm too. All right, pizza is here, so I will be right back. Pizza break. All right, I think we're going to call a little bit of an audible since these storms aren't moving that much, and we've pretty significantly covered these storms so far here. Somewhat quieter in Minnesota. Flash flooding, and flooding is ongoing, though, in northwestern Ontario and into northeastern Minnesota. So please take those flash flood warnings seriously tonight, especially here if you're in northeast Minnesota. And if you don't have to travel, please don't. Still strong storms coming through Duluth and then down towards the areas north of Minneapolis. Still may get a severe warning out of some of those storms. Watching those severe storms here on the Minnesota and Iowa border. Also watching some strong storms, not severe at the moment, headed towards Des Moines. We'll have to see if those do get severe warned in the Des Moines metro. They're kind of bowing out a little bit. Strong storms in northern Kansas, north and west of Manhattan. For the most part, though, our strongest storms here are back along I-70 near Great Bend and then point south down towards Liberal. This is the strongest area to watch. I'm going to go back into monitoring mode. If things kick back up significantly in this area or extend further out towards Wichita, we may do another basically Kansas storm live stream for this area here this evening. But otherwise, things do seem to be on the downtrend. Also, a couple strong storms still in western New York with some small hail and gusty winds. So watch out for those. But thank you, everyone, for watching tonight and joining our weather stream. Try and keep you guys updated for severe weather. We got to see basically tornado genesis there with a life cycle of a small tornado likely here around Dodge City, around Ensign. We saw that storm wrap up, intensify quickly, rotation, produce likely a tornado for a couple scans there, maybe 5 to 8 minutes of real time, and then quickly gust itself out. That storm has gusted out and continued to be outflow dominant, but also producing 70 to 80 mile an hour winds coming through Kinsley and Greensburg towards Lewis and Belpre. That area should get an extended warning, so would not be surprised if we get a new warning out in just a couple minutes for this area around Pratt, Kansas. But yes, if things continue to be strong as they approach some of the higher populated areas, Emporia, Topeka, Wichita, we may do another live stream this evening. But otherwise, stay safe, stay weather aware, have multiple ways to get warnings, and we'll see you on the next one. Also, probably have a video out tomorrow on potential tropical cyclone, whether it develops a name or not. We'll have at least a video on it, as well as some other potential tropical developments in the next week or so. So we'll have another video out likely tomorrow for that, and maybe a live stream if the tropical cyclone impacts South Texas strong enough. And like I mentioned, there are warnings now out for that area around Pratt and St. John, and also Sterling, Lyons, McPherson, Lindsborg, and Salina, Kansas. 60 mile an hour winds, some small hail in both of those warnings. Would not be surprised if there's a little bit larger wind in that St. John warning. So stay safe, everyone. Have a great evening, and we'll see you on the next live stream.